Great Monday morning, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. It is time for the Monday edition of your Midday Hang. Annie and Elsten reporting for duty on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We're all together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon. Annie Halbrun's here. Braden Suprenant as well. I'm Craig Elsten, ready to roll. 4 hours live local San Diego sports talk radio. Here with you, bridging the gap between Ben and Woods and Gwen and Chris. What's going on, Annie? How are you?
Doing great. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Looking forward to hearing about it all. But yeah, doing well. It's a little bit gloomy outside, but to be expected sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
getting
the
rain this week.
Exactly.
Yeah, rain
right.
is turning up just in time for the Genesis Invitational, looking to completely disrupt our glorious golf event coming up later this weekend. But it is what it is. We've got a little gray going on. Braden, how are you going?
Doing well. It was a fun weekend of sports from a work standpoint and a fun standpoint. So I caught a lot of games, went to a couple of USD baseball scrimmages, getting ready for opening day on Friday. Hopefully the rain will I think the rain's supposed to stop before they're supposed to play on Friday, but we'll see. And then I got to go up to Irvine for the UCI-UCSD game. That was fun. And a really fun, it was almost like a high school rivalry game kind of atmosphere because UCSD brought an entire section. They brought an entire section for their students who bust up there for the game. So it was kind of a fun two students back and forth yelling at each other during a game. That was a fun game to attend. And then of course the Super Bowl yesterday was game itself wasn't the greatest, but it's the vibes of the company that you're with. So I had a good time with all of those with my friends yesterday, and it was a good overall weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, it was nice. First weekend in a while that I haven't had work, and then I looked ahead and I think, dear God, almost every weekend the rest of the spring and summer I've got work.
Yeah.
I mean, all depending in terms of what's going on with both of the soccer clubs, both of the pro soccer clubs. But things are just going to be accelerating. Pitchers and catchers report for the Padres on Wednesday. More importantly, spring training Sammy reports for work on Wednesday and begins his sojourn in Peoria, his 6 weeks of Peoria purgatory, so to speak. I mean, he's there every day. Bell Road, deciding which option to select each and every day. Nonetheless, all of that still to come this week. But we've got a great weekend of action to break down and a full show for you today. Here's what we got lined up. Obviously, we'll talk Super Bowl. Probably take the long segment here this hour to really get into it. We can do kind of a cursory passover here in this opening segment. Padres fill their left field platoon and add a non-roster invitee on top of that. We've got the baseball hour coming up at 11 a.m. We'll dig into all of that and into a new Padres top 20 prospects list. All of that coming up in the second hour of the program. Of course, we've got the 12 o'clock sports fix coming up at the midway portion of the show, including all of the local teams, weekend in review, everything that's happened over the weekend in baseball, the NFL news with Aaron Rodgers parting way with the Jets, all of that coming up at 12 o'clock. 12:45, we'll play today's silly game. Still qualifying people for Motley Crue tickets in Las Vegas in March. Fast Money gets the double treatment this week. We'll play Fast Money on Monday and Friday this week, so your chance to qualify coming up at 12:45. We'll announce today's biggest fan at 1 o'clock. Coming up at 1:20, Tony Sanchez, our regular contributor to the program, was in Coachella Valley for SDFC's first ever public appearance on a pitch, taking on the Coachella Valley Invitational. It's a series of preseason matches that's happening over the course of really 2 weekends and a week out there in Palm Springs. First time we ever got to see SDFC on the field. They did score, which is great. They did lose 3-1. Tony was there. He interviewed the head coach. He interviewed several of the players, and we will chat to him around 1:20 and get his breakdown and review of everything that happened on Saturday. I was watching that match on YouTube. On Saturday, we'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. We've got a lot to come. We'll talk college basketball next segment, so plenty on the map. Okay, Braden, you said it's the vibes of who you were with. So who were you with?
Had a couple of my buddies over, which was great. So had a good time, and then my parents were hanging out. My brother had to work yesterday, which kind of stinks, but he was able to catch the second half and did a bunch of different stuff. They picked up one of my friends brought over Wings and Things. I'm not a huge Wings and Things guy, but they love it, and they're a Don's family, so I got to support. And then I did my best at making my own like pigs in a blanket kind of deal, and they actually came out really, really good. So
Nice.
that and some buffalo chicken dip, and then I made some healthier version of a Twix. I made a protein Twix bar yesterday, which actually came out pretty good. I was surprised by that. I was like, okay, let's do this healthy version of a Twix bar, and it actually tasted pretty good, and it's not terrible for you. So that's what we did.
Was your brother carting Christmas trees, or what was he doing?
He works for Enterprise, and
that's
he
right.
got promoted to the airport, so he's got to do with the airport,
Oh, boy.
and he's got some stories.
That's
already.
a promotion?
It is, because you get paid more at the airport because there's more people that are willing to upgrade their things because they're either on vacation or they are traveling for work and the company's paying for it, so they don't care about tack on the insurance, tack on this, tack on that, whatever. So yeah, it is a little bit of an upgrade, but
They definitely don't care about the Super Bowl happening.
yeah, exactly.
Flights are still flying.
I feel bad. I mean, like the thing is he's got to deal with. I've never had to deal with this when I worked in customer service, but he has to deal with like people trying to negotiate their price for everything. Like he makes the prices, and he's just like, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Prices are set, buddy.
That's right. I don't make the prices, so he's constantly having to negotiate, even though he cannot negotiate prices for things. So he comes home all like upset about it. But so he got half. He missed the first half of the Super Bowl, but it's all right. It's not that big of a deal.
All right, Annie, spill the beans. What'd you do?
I was at a Super Bowl party, like I mentioned, and had a good time. I mean, your typical Super Bowl party, which is the food and the fun and just good people around. So, I mean, pretty, I think, generic as it goes, but good friends and good time, and it was all good.
Out your way, or did you have to go all the way?
I went
in?
a little bit out of town for this one, yeah. So a little bit more towards LA, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
For the weekend.
Okay. All right.
I won the last square. That's all that mattered.
Yes, Braden won the last square, and he's taking the Disneyland tickets.
the
which
Disneyland
Did you
tickets.
get 4 or 2?
I get 4.
I'm very jealous.
Jerk.
That's right, jerk. You know what the jerks were the Kansas City Chiefs for going for 2 the first time. I could have won the third quarter too. The whole time I was MF in the chief. I'm like, why are you going for 2? It makes no sense. There's no reason to go for 2 here. And they went for 2, and I'm like, as soon as they go for 2, I lose because I think it was like I had Chiefs 7 and Eagles 4 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so like just them lining up for 2 confirms that you're not going to win, because if they don't get it, you don't win, and if they get it, you don't win. Like the only way they do it is if they're like, you know what, we don't like this, timeout, send the PAT unit out there.
Yeah.
So they did it the first time. I missed out, and then the second time they scored, I needed them to miss the 2-point conversion, and they got it. Damn it. And then I was like, okay. And then at the end, I'm sitting there going like, oh, they're going to get the ball back, and if they get 8 points, I win. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and then they scored quickly. I'm like, hell yeah, they hit the bomb to whoever that was. And then I was like, I needed them to not get the 2-point conversion the second time. And so I was sitting there going like, come on, Eagles, we need to stop. That was the most engaged I'd been in the game the entire time. I was like, come on, we need to stop right here. This is important for some people. Incomplete. All right, sweet.
Yeah, worked out.
Got
Good
it.
prize to win.
Count it. Count the bucket. I almost immediately sent Adam an email. I'll take the Disneyland tickets. See ya.
And last year you kind of got screwed out of the Disneyland tickets, didn't you?
Kind of, because I had the fourth quarter winner again last year, but the game went to overtime, which means I was gonna I was never gonna win the overtime deal because
Right,
it's
you can't.
it's impossible in the NFL. So I got that, and then Rob Zilla won the overtime one, and he took the Disneyland tickets, and then I got the Padres tickets,
Which you don't need.
which
You
I
can
don't
go
need.
anytime
and
you want.
He goes to Disneyland all the time, so he didn't really need the.
You really
Disneyland
should have
ones.
traded, but
This year,
Robzilla.
This year, I got the fourth quarter. He got the third quarter. I got the Disneyland, and he took the Padres suite. So
Okay,
it
well,
worked
everything
out.
evened out.
It worked out.
And you never have to win again because you finally got your dream come true.
There you go.
Exactly.
So
The
that's-
Eagles
that's
just
a
won
good
the
value,
Super
a
Bowl.
good
Where are you
prize.
going? We're going to Disneyland.
Who'd you watch with?
Me, myself, and I. Home Alone, not Home Alone. My family was there. Mitzi paid absolutely no attention to the game at all. And my son really was irritated with the game because he just wanted to watch Kendrick at halftime and probably came out of his room. First off, he started by staying in the room, but trying to play music on his phone without headphones.
Okay.
Like while I'm watching the game.
So you were listening to that.
Like I was listening to the game, but then there's, Juice WRLD in the background or something. And I'm like, dude, because I mean, we've had to tell him this like,
Put your headphones on.
24 times. Like there's a certain etiquette about playing music in a room. And one of those etiquettes is nothing else is on. There's no other music on. There's not people like engaged in a very active conversation. And there's certainly not the TV on because you don't want.
Blowfish says your son is a talented troll.
I know. And then he proceeded to come out of his room like 3 times in the second quarter, each time with an increasingly frustrated, this is still on? Like, how is this still going? And like maybe one time kind of chuckling because, many young boys aren't Chiefs fans because they've decided that the girls in their class who like Taylor Swift are liking the Chiefs for no reason.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
A lot of drama.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot, but I mean, it's the attendant drama of being 13 or 14, right?
Okay.
So I think he kind of chuckled that the Chiefs were getting, their doors blown off.
And they did.
Which they were. But that was about it. And I did my annual pilgrimage to Valley Farms Market the morning of, where I made the annual decision to go ahead and buy the 7-layer dip, except they advertise it as an 8-layer dip. I do not know what the 8th layer is.
We talked about this last year.
Yes.
That's right.
I do not know what the 8th layer is. I grabbed it without even looking at the price. I just threw it in my basket. And then I was shocked by the price when I looked at the receipt.
Like
It's
$16,
$13.
$13, yeah.
$13 for a damn dip. Like, what is going on?
They're
I don't
gonna
need the
get
8th layer. Drop it down to $9.99. Let's go.
Craig's counting the layer. Okay, that's that.
Yeah,
layer.
which layer?
I only
Right.
got 7. Why am I paying extra for an 8th? It's not there. Is that the
Seriously.
plastic container it comes in?
That's what I'm wondering. So, but we had some delightful chicken wings from the kitchen they have there.
Nice.
They were
Nice,
very
yeah.
good. And then I bought brisket for apparently no reason at all. Because no one touched it. Like I ate.
You should touch it.
Well, I'm going to. I mean, it's going to be in the eggs the rest of the week,
There you
pretty
go.
much, and probably for dinner tonight, and maybe a brisket sandwich for lunch. I don't know.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but that was my story.
Yeah,
Let's
I
take-
believe it. Like tortilla chips that you used to be able to get for like $1.99.
Oh my
are now
God,
like
dude.
$6.99 or
Annie,
$7.99.
when I was
I'm like, there's
there,
tortilla chips.
There was some. I hate that we're a little bit offline. Well, we'll have to continue
Okay.
on. We're in the danger zone now. When I was there, so one of the things I wanted to get was chips, right? Because I've got the 8-layer dip.
Yeah, you gotta
I also
dip
got
in.
guacamole untouched, lid still on. So I've got guacamole for the eggs and the brisket all week too. But so I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, I want to get, obviously bag of tortilla chips. Well, I don't want the one that says thin and crispy because what's that going to do once you dip it in the dip? Just snap off in your finger,
dude.
and then you've just got the little tiny, like a person's hand in drowning in the ocean. You've got that
Then
little
you're trying
corner
to
of
pick
chip.
it out, touching the dip. And
Right?
It sucks.
It's awful.
Then
It's
you're that
awful.
guy. You can't scoop the chip right.
Right? So I start looking around, and I eventually settled on one that said thick, crispy chips, extra thick. They still
THICC or
no, otherwise
Not that thick.
It would have been $5
That's a
more if it
pita
was
chip, Annie.
THICC.
yeah, now you're in pita territory.
Yeah, I mean,
Pita
really,
territory.
pita is probably the ultimate,
Yeah.
ultimately successful chip dip that you want.
I like the mission strips.
They're good too.
Those are
They're
pretty
good.
solid.
But anyways, so I'm looking around now. I'm surveying. I was just going to grab the first one, but then I saw thin and crispy. No, and then I saw the house ones, and they looked the exact same, like width. Like I thought those would all snap off. So I'm like, and they didn't even have a price on it. I don't know how much those were. So now I'm looking around. There was a bag of like bespoke tortilla chips, masa ground. What? $16 for a bleeping bag of chips. Chips. Still chips. When you open it, it's still chips inside. $16 for chips?
Happy Super Bowl, everybody.
That's right.
Chips.
They'll be like
No.
$3 tomorrow. Or
Yeah,
today.
exactly.
They're probably $3
Believe it.
today on sale.
I could not believe it. So, yeah, I dropped my yearly hundo at Valley Farms, overbuying, as always, in the morning, regretting it the next day. But, yeah, $15 for chips.
That's crazy.
Like, what?
I left the store yesterday. As soon as I left, I forgot 2 things that I needed, and somebody had to go pick them up. I was so pissed. That's the worst.
You got to get there late.
I saw on the red Greg walk by, though. So his Eagles won.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fly,
His
Eagles, fly.
destroyed.
Yes.
The trenches.
Yeah. Really, those are the kind, I mean, we'll get to it a lot more in a segment away. Those are the kind of Super Bowls I grew up watching. If you go back and take a look, I think Ben mentioned this earlier today too. If you go back and look at the 1980s and the early 90s, it was route after route after miserable route. And like the game not being over at halftime was where you were like, oh, actually the Super Bowl might be okay this year. You know, I mean, some just despicable routes along the way. The Bills getting their heads handed to them, except for that one time that it was close. The one that was here in San Diego, the Broncos made a habit of getting obliterated in the Super Bowl for quite a long time. Yes, and now, hey, welcome to the party, Chiefs. It ended in a giant thud.
40, was it 40-22? 40,
yeah, and all of the 22
I know.
was completely after the fact.
Yes.
This wasn't even one where you felt like they were going to come back in the second half. It wasn't like, the Chiefs are ready. They're primed for a big comeback. You just felt like it was just out.
No chance at all. Okay, we have reached the time that we can take a break. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get more into the Super Bowl. We'll take the long segment to get all the way in. 2 huge college basketball games for our local universities on Saturday night, basically at the same time, with greatly different results. And it feels like 2 arrows pointing in opposite directions right now for San Diego State and for UCSD. We're going to get to that right after this. And in Elsten underway, rolling till 2 on the Fan. The Slam Dunk in Vegas National Contest is your chance at the ultimate trip to Las Vegas. All you have to do is download the Odyssey app, log in, and listen to 97.3 The Fan for at least an hour to earn your daily entry into this national contest. The grand prize is travel and accommodations for a winner and 3 guests to Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination, where you can watch the biggest March Hoops party at Stadium Swim, plus $20,000 cash. So if you're listening to us you just heard me say that. Wherever you're listening, consider routing your listening for an hour through the Odyssey app. And doesn't change your experience at all. You're still getting the show. However, you'll also get an entry along the way. And who knows? Maybe the lotto hits you and you head out to Vegas. 10:24 is the time. It's Annie and Elsten. Annie Halpin, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet here with you. Saturday night, 2 local college basketball programs that are currently looking like 2 ships passing in the night. One headed toward port and the other out to a dark sea. And the club that's headed toward port is the one that Braden had the chance to watch in person Saturday night at the Bren Event Center in UC Irvine, where UC San Diego really impressed in a dominant win over the Anteaters. One in which it was nip and tuck in the first half, very similar to the game that was played in San Diego. However, nip and tuck in a completely different style. The Tritons were doing all the things that they didn't do that night. They were challenging the big man, Bent Lutkin. They were getting into his chest on drives as opposed to always stopping as if he was Dikembe Mutombo and going, oh, I don't want to shoot. You know, they were rotating the ball. They were shooting the 3 with confidence. They were getting Tyler McGuy involved in the offense. Clearly, the box and one was a gimmick that wasn't able to sustain. And then, Braden, in the second half, just possessed by the spirit of the 2019 Houston Rockets, the Tritons just rained in threes from every corner of the court. They finished 16 for 31.
Yeah, the 3-point shooting was just insane. I mean, that's like an unsustainable mark that they had. But when you're hot, and you can take advantage of it. Let's go back to the box at one. I thought that was interesting. I mean, they shut down McGuy. They did it again, but UCSD was ready for it. I mean, Eric Olin and company made the adjustment. It's like, all right, well, if you're going to run that, we're gonna try to move the ball and do things a different way. And I thought I was kind of surprised. I mean, Russ Turner's a really good coach, and to think that they were just going to do the same thing over again and not get the adjustment from UC San Diego, I thought was a little bit of a miss. I mean, I wouldn't mind them seeing like Irvine start out in the box and one, and then once it didn't work, just be like, all right, here's our backup plan. But they really just wanted to shut down McGuy, but it was everybody else. I mean, Tate Jones had a great performance on Saturday, 6 for 17 from the field. But again, it was the 3-point shooting for UC San Diego, and then it turned into the turnover game. And the thing is with Irvine, I mean, one of their best players is Miles Che, and Miles Che was a turnover machine. He had like 6 turnovers in crunch time, and like 4 of them were like not even close to being. They were just catastrophic turnovers. I mean, one of them, he tried to flip back to one of his teammates and just completely threw it out of bounds when they were in a spot where they had to start rolling back a comeback. But total turnovers, 18 for the Anteaters. UCSD put up 20 points on the 18 turnovers. It comes down to rebounding and turnovers. UCSD won the turnover battle. Irvine ended up winning the rebounding battle, which I find a little surprising, including the points in the paint, but only by 2 points. But UCSD shooting from beyond the arc, 16 for 31. You shoot 51% from the 3-point line. I'm going to tell you right now, there's nobody in the country that's going to beat you. Nobody. I mean, they do that against Duke, they win. It's just unsustainable number, but you got to cash it when you can, and now you got to tie for first place. And just like everybody thought in the Big West, it's going to come down to the championship game in Henderson of who's going to the NCAA tournament, which I think is a real sham because I think both these teams deserve to go to the NCAA tournament. And the fact that they're in the Big West and get no type of good metrics from their other teams in the conference are going to punish them. Meanwhile, you got teams like Oklahoma and Texas at the bottom half of the SEC. They're going to sneak into the NCAA tournament. And I'm not necessarily sure that those teams could beat UCSD or Irvine at this point in time.
Well, I'll say this. I don't think it's impossible anymore for the Big West to get 2.
I think starting next year.
Probably. Okay, listen, probably. This is probably a flight of fancy. But UCSD is 20-4.
Yeah.
And they just avenged their 2 conference losses, which was a reasonably, single-digit losses at UCR and at home to UC Irvine. They just avenged those 2 losses last week by a combined 38 points. I mean, they blew out both teams, and beating Irvine the way they did, consistently up, at one point up 17, and then Irvine kind of fought it back to 10 or 9, and boom, came right back down. Never wilted under the pressure, sold out crowd in Irvine this weekend. I mean, UCSD's bona fides, as far as they can go, they have gone, essentially. Like, the one thing they could have done was beat San Diego State the very first game of the year. Completely different programs, back in November compared to where they are now. But right now, and after these results, because we're going to kind of transition to SDSU clanking free throws on their way to a disappointing loss at Colorado State, a game that they win straight up, a game they win if they hit free throws. And instead, they went on a wild 1-for-8 negative rampage at the line, and turned a lead into a deficit and then could not come back as a result. But UCSD actually passing in net ranking San Diego State, and in the Ken Palm, it's SDSU 49, UCSD 50.
Here's where UCSD hurts themselves, though, in the trying to get 2 teams in the tournament. Irvine played a pretty good schedule where their non-conference strength of schedule is not bad. But you look at remember we compared RPI and non-conference RPI. RPI for UCSD is 43, non-conference RPI is 58, which means they get a boost playing in the Big West, which is not saying too much because out of the Big West, there's only one other team, and it's Irvine. That has good numbers in the Big West. You look at their strength of schedule, it's 131 in the country. That's out of 300 and something. Non-conference strength of schedule is 209. So hopefully in the next couple of years, you start seeing Eric Olin and company schedule some good games. I mean, but they got a lot of net rankings that are super high and RPIs that are super high that are one of their wins. And then the thing that's really killing them too is one of their losses is Seattle. Seattle's 8-13 on the year and an RPI of 222 in the country. So that's where, like, this year it hurts UCSD. But I think in future years, if they can, schedule up a little bit more, and now that they're available for the NCAA tournament and they had another good year, you could see, as Craig said, I think Irvine and UCSD could be a 2-bid league in the Big West for the NCAA tournament. Like the West Coast Conference with them having 2 teams that make it with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Now they're not obviously at that level of Gonzaga, but that's another conference that you should be very comparable to when it comes to looking at teams that are very familiar, like same resources and everything. Big West, West Coast Conference, very much the same. You can make the same comparisons compared to, maybe a conference like the Mountain West that has teams that have football money coming in and everything like that.
Well, let's talk just a little bit more about the Aztecs before we break, because for San Diego State, honestly, I hate to say it, but I told you so last week. We're headed toward a win the conference tournament or you're done. And I just don't see the trajectory changing. And I know that there's if they go, 9-0, or if they go, 7-1, the rest of the way, maybe they'll get an at-large. Nah, gang, nah. It ain't going that way. It ain't going that way right now. Maybe, here's what you get excited about. Maybe the Aztecs put it together and find themselves at some point in the next 3 weeks. Maybe they have a draw a line in the sand game. Maybe it's Saturday at home against Boise State, playing a really good team at home. Maybe there's a moment where things click back into place for this club, and then they have the ability to go on that run in Las Vegas that gets them back to the tournament. But it is so hard, Annie, when you know the tournament committee pays attention to momentum, pays attention to what teams are stronger at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year, to take a team and ask them to get through the committee when the number one thing they're holding up is a win back in November.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a hard stretch. I mean, they're a young team. They're a relatively inexperienced team. I don't know how long you can ride on that, but it is true for them that they just don't have all the experience that they've had in previous years. Just haven't looked always in sync. They're having trouble with the free throws. Magoon Guath, I thought, had a good game again, and he's been playing well. But to go back to UCSD, because I didn't get a chance to talk in that segment, they ended UCI's 22-game winning streak at home. Now, as Braden said, and you guys said, first place tie with Irvine, but they won on the road. They won against a first place team on the road. And you got to think that Eric Olin, who is going to lose all 3 seniors at the end of the year and probably going to get picked up for like some coaching job, right? Like someone's going to come after him. What happens to that program? And is that a possibility? I mean, this is their shot right now to go ahead and go far in this tournament if they can make it, because who knows what next year is going to look like for them.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I'll finish with something I've said multiple times. If the Tritons make the big dance, I'm fully aware of this context. Like, it might not be again next year. It might not be again for 2-3 years. If Coach Olin goes out the door, they're going to have Coach Allard, who's been there right by his side the whole time.
Yeah, maybe.
Try and promote him, or is Coach Olin going to take Coach Allard with him out the door? And who's to say that Eric doesn't get a big money extension at UCSD? I don't know.
Yeah, that could all happen. And you have, that's kind of going to be the difference. That's the next step for UCSD, is to build that program. But I thought it was cool. You saw, as we saw Braden tweet over the weekend with the picture of all those students that were at the game and that made the trip. I mean, you can really start to see the excitement for this program and the wanting. It's kind of like what SDSU went through, the wanting for it to continue to be good and continue to make these students proud. I mean, that was something that really, I think it surprised everyone to see.
I don't know if I can go into the details of this, but I have heard that the academic side of UCSD and the backing that the school is giving the athletic, they are making contributions that escalates over the next couple of years to the athletic department in terms of money and funding, and they are continuing to grow on that, and they're pumping a ton of money into their athletic department because they're going into this, and this is not their words, but just my assumptions of, you know what, if we're going to spend all this money to be D1, let's go be D1. So they're going to continue to pump money into their athletic department. And as mentioned before, I said it a long time ago, but if you look at the Big West and you look at the schools that are good at sports, they're all in desirable locations. It's Santa Barbara, it's Irvine, and it's UCSD. All 3 of those schools have the backing from their schools to be good in athletics, and all 3 of those schools have a very easy area to recruit from and an area to recruit to, with being right by the beach. I mean, if you're competing against Cal State, Santa Barbara, Cal State, San Bernardino, and all these, Cal State Bakersfield, and some of these teams in the desert, it's a lot easier to convince a kid to go play in La Jolla, Newport Beach, and Santa Barbara than it is to play in Fullerton and Northridge and some of these other cities that the Big West is a part of. But as Andy mentioned, snapped the winning streak at home for Irvine. Last team to beat Irvine at Irvine was UC San Diego. So
How about it?
Really?
That did it twice, yes.
Go Tritons. All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll go back through the Super Bowl, the game, the broadcast, halftime show, commercials. We'll give it the full tour right after this. It's Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back. 10:43 is the time. I don't know if we gave ourselves enough time to actually go through all the way through the Super Bowl. We might
Pick it up again?
Yeah, we might have to kick some down the road a little bit later into the show. But it was such a big weekend for college basketball.
Yeah.
And just got to be honest, the bubbling pride I have for UCSD. You know, I celebrate both programs, but I got to admit, when I saw them win and the Aztecs lose, and the idea they're like, well, we could actually pass them in the rankings.
I mean, I think
Like,
it's an exciting
whoa.
time for those students, the fans there, the alumni. I mean, this is what you guys have been waiting for.
Yeah. And I repeat my vow that if we make the big dance, I'm going.
Yeah.
Wherever they go, I'm going to follow because, as you just said, I don't know if it would be Coach Olin's last game. I do know it could be Tate Jones' last game, Magai's last game, you know, the Hayden Gray. They've got some great players, but just to see where this program's gone, it just...
Latest has Irvine going to Seattle. Maybe you get to go to
Oh.
Seattle instead of
That's a nice place.
Providence.
Yeah, instead of Providence, exactly. Do
You'll
not want to
take
go to
it.
Providence.
What about Wichita? You got any
Uh-huh.
qualms about
boy.
Wichita?
Well,
Scouting report of Wichita.
maybe I could get some... I've got family in Pittsburgh, Kansas. It's a ways away, but maybe they come out.
Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Kansas.
Pittsburgh with no H.
Does Kansas just want to have a bunch of like city names from
Like
other states?
Little New York-
Seriously.
what is it, Little Manhattan?
It's the Little Apple.
Yeah, Manhattan,
Manhattan, Kansas, where K-State
Yeah, the
is.
Little Apple.
The Little
Absolutely.
Apple. I've never.
Pittsburgh
That was,
with no H. We just want to have the H.
yeah, just take the H off. We'll be
we'll be
fine.
fine.
Yeah, the Little Steel City, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Little
It
Steel.
won't be confusing at all.
No, absolutely not. The one state in the Big 12 I didn't have to travel to, the state of Kansas. I missed both those trips, thank God.
Well, Annie, Braden watches a lot more high school football than I do, certainly nowadays. I've watched
Same with me.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
watched plenty of high school football in the day.
Did anybody notice Chula Vista High School was in a commercial last
That was
night?
cool.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
I was watching.
The
I'm
flag
like,
football commercial,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
watching. I'm like, that looks like Chula Vista High School. My dad's like, yeah, but it's red. I'm like, you don't think they just changed the colors?
That was really cool.
I was like, it literally
Yeah.
looks just like Chula Vista High School. I'm
They're
like,
really in on flag football. Like the NFL's really kind of.
well, that is the fastest growing sport in the country right
Fewer
now.
concussions,
is
by the way.
Girls flag football.
flag football.
Yeah.
Um,
I would hope so.
well, the point I bring up high school football is that if you've watched high school football, you know you're watching a terrible game. You know you're watching a game that has absolutely no hope when every time the bad team drops back to pass, the quarterback never looks beyond the line of scrimmage. He's only looking to his left and to his right to see who is about to clobber him.
Jailbreak.
Yeah, and that was the entire first half of Super Bowl 59. Pat Mahomes, how many times consecutively in the second quarter did he drop back to pass? And when you saw the replay, his eyes literally never got beyond the line of scrimmage as he dropped. Oh, got him out. Oh, got him out. Spin around, fall down. What a disaster. The Chiefs' offensive line was butterscotch pudding yesterday.
Yeah, I mean
How many
they've got to
times they
get that.
blitz?
What was that?
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah,
Never.
They got blitzed one. They didn't get blitzed one time.
they got to get that figured out though. I mean, you can't have one of the best quarterbacks in the league just completely under pressure the entire time. That game was won in the trenches. It was won with the Eagles' defensive line and the Eagles' offensive line, and then Jalen Hurts, I thought, had a great game. Threw the ball down the field when he needed to, but also read the coverages well, kept himself making good decisions. When he would get blitzed, he would just run up the middle. He had, I think, the most yards in the Super Bowl of
any running back?
Yeah, of like
He had 73 yards on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
a Super Bowl rushing record for quarterbacks to go with the 3 total touchdowns. Mahomes turning the ball over. You could tell that the Eagles had taken the loss to heart 2 years ago, and it fueled them and it drove them, and they came back just with a completely different mentality and I think confidence and willingness to play. And then when you learn too about, like, you know how the Eagles started the season pretty badly, 2-2, and there was the talk about Jalen Hurts and Sirianni not getting along, and they weren't on the same page, which I think was true. And then the offensive line went to them and said, you got to start using Saquon more. You got to start making, this unit be more advantageous to him. And they listen, which, coaches rarely sometimes do. And they listened to their O-linemen, and they started using him better. And they remade their units on both sides of the ball. And I think that the Eagles have just come a long way and learned a lot in the last few years.
They've been drafted in the trenches like the last couple
Yep.
of years. That's what you do. When everybody else
Made
is
all the
drafting, the sexy wide receiver and quarterback picks, good teams are grabbing linemen in the first couple of rounds. I mean, how many Georgia Bulldogs do the Philadelphia Eagles have on defense, right? And who's had the arguably the best defense in the country in college football the last couple of years. But again, as you mentioned, the trenches were huge for that. For the Eagles, I mean, Jalen Hurts had time to throw when he did not have time to throw. The offensive line did a good job of finding some holes. I mean, again, he either rolled outside because of lack of contain from the Chiefs' D-line or no gap integrity when they pressed too far on the outside, opened up a middle lane. Jalen did a really good job of finding open spots. He made a couple of throws that he needed to make. Missed on some, but, he did exactly what he did all year, and it's just not turn the ball over and make plays when he needs to make plays, and let everybody else go out there and make their plays. Eagles defense set them up for success twice. I mean, 14 of those points you could attest to the Eagles defense. I mean, with the turnovers inside.
Oh yeah,
the one obviously with the pick six with Cooper DeJean, but then also, I mean, the second pick that Mahomes threw was awful.
Oh my God,
it was terrible. It's like, what are you looking at, dude? Like, where are you trying to go? But the thing with Patrick Mahomes, he did everything that he normally does, and he just didn't get away with it this time. And he makes those he goes across. I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched him roll out to the right, throw it back, no look to the left, which no quarterback should ever do, and there's just a dude right there, perfect catch, and everybody's like, what a great throw by Mahomes. He did it yesterday. It was a pick. And in fact, it went to the house. Same thing, going across the middle, not seeing the linebacker, has always worked out for Mahomes on the crossing route. Who was there? Linebacker, bang, pick. So he got pressured, but it wasn't on blitzes. It was just how great the D-line was for the Eagles. And they did the same thing on runs. I was showing you guys before the show started on how they took on the lead block, on the kick-out block. And they ran that to perfection, just closing down the holes. There was nowhere really to run. Mahomes was, getting knocked on his ass almost every single play. And the big problem for the Chiefs all year that they've gotten away with has been their lack of play on the offensive line. And the Eagles with their D-line exposed that the entire time.
Yeah, it was a terrible football game.
I mean, we all watched it, but to see it in print is another story. That the Eagles led 34-0 before the Chiefs even crossed midfield. And
they had one first down at halftime.
Yeah, and they won the game. The Eagles won the game. Didn't even need. I mean, Saquon Barkley. I mean, who wasn't necessarily the difference maker in this game, and they did a decent job of shutting him down. But still, I mean, Saquon Barkley I saw surpassed Terrell Davis for the most rushing yards in a single season in NFL history, including the postseason. So he led them there. He got them there. But Mahomes sacked 6 times and hit 11 times. Just bad. It was just bad. You could tell they were out of sync the entire time.
Yeah. Eagles never punted, and Matt Araiza punted a lot.
A lot.
We saw a lot of Matt Araiza.
Yeah.
Didn't see a lot of Kyle Phillips, but he's a Super Bowl champion. Congratulations to San Marcos product.
Well, in his first 20 dropbacks, Mahomes was either sacked or pressured 15 of the 20. He had 5 clean looks in 20. And really, there's no quarterback in the world that's going to win in a circumstance like that. No. And especially when you get hit that often that early, because it's just human nature. It's fight or flight. And that's what I was talking about to start the segment. You could see Pat Mahomes an inability to go look for his receiver, to even look down the field. He was literally, who's going to hit me next? Who's going to hit me next? Oh, now I can look? Okay.
We saw Phillip Rivers have to deal with that for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it gets in your head. It's the same thing that we talk about with baseball games. Once you start thinking everything's going to go wrong, think about their receivers who had wide open passes. No way they dropped that in a normal game, and they were dropping catches.
That D-Hop one was rough.
Yeah.
It was tough to see. Right.
But it was also out a little bit in front of him because Mahomes got rushed. And he was just rushed every single time he threw. A dominant display by the Eagles. Like I said, similar to all the Super Bowls I grew up with. But truly a bad game.
The 2-point conversion that didn't happen. I guess they had to do it. I understand that. But
for what? The first one? There was no reason for them to do that.
I can see that argument, but it was bad.
8 times 4 is 32. They were still too short. Right. They got it 4 times.
It wasn't going to happen.
And we'll get into the broadcast. We'll just do a second segment where we talk about the broadcast.
Halftime show.
The commercials. But they were petrified on the broadcast to say anything. And it was like when that Devontae Smith touchdown happened, in the flow, Kevin Burkhardt said the dagger. And then the instant that it was done, he realized he can't say dagger, can't say dagger. It's third quarter. There's still a whole quarter worth of Super Bowl commercials to be played. And they immediately went to, well, how can the Chiefs come back? Boy, the Chiefs, all they need is, 4 touchdowns and 4 two-point conversions, and they'll be right there. Guys.
Don't turn the channel, trying to get everyone not to turn the channel.
Yeah,
It's still a
give
game,
me a
NFL.
break. Give me a break.
I felt like a lot of them were prepared for. I felt like a lot of their preparation was more on the Chiefs side. Like, okay, when the Chiefs end up inevitably winning or taking the lead, like we've got all these hits and we've got all this knowledge to dispel, and then they kind of had to audible over to the Eagles side, which I'm sure they were prepared for, but it didn't seem as much so, if that makes sense.
Who's prepared for a game flow like that?
Yeah,
Complete
exactly.
domination.
That's true.
Some meaningless passing
Like
at the end of the game.
Right. Like you felt like, if anything, the Chiefs would keep it close. And that's how I would feel as a broadcaster going into that game. So you're right. It's hard to prepare for that.
NFL should have put a committee together to pick the teams, and you would have a better. You'd have a better
Brady probably was
championship
laughing
game.
inside after all the GOAT talk and everything. And he probably was like, yeah.
It's all that. My thing with quarterbacks to this day, it takes more than just the quarterback. You need a good quarterback to win, but it's more than just the quarterback that wins and loses the games.
It was back to being football, the trenches. It's back to
It's always been.
It's always been.
It's always
right,
been.
Exactly.
Where's the astronaut meme?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always been like that. It's always been like that.
No, you're absolutely right.
I mean, we're going to
you
talk
can get
about
away with it sometimes, but if you don't have good trenches, it's going to catch up to you.
Jalen Hurts did better in the Super Bowl yesterday than any of Tom Brady's Super Bowl games statistically. Any of them. Any of them.
Makes you think.
Trenches.
Let's take a timeout. When we come back, hour number 2 of the program, it is our traditional baseball hour, and we have not gotten into the Padres news of the weekend. They did it to us again last week. They announced Connor Joe like 2 minutes after our show was over.
I know.
We'll come back. We'll talk about that. Hayward, more next. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com. Get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Annie and Elsten program here with you. It is 11 a.m. in America's finest city. We're coming to you live on 97.3 FM radio. Greetings to everyone in their car. We're coming to you live on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, where if you listen for an hour straight, you get an automatic daily entry into our national contest to try and go to Vegas for the Madness. Mm-hmm. That is March. I think I still did that legally.
That was legal.
Didn't say it, but I said it. I can't wait. Now that my mighty Tritons are involved, I can't wait. We are also, of course, coming to you as a podcast. Welcome to everybody listening to us a little bit later in the day, or even a day or more later. Hi, good to see you. Glad that you're here. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you can drop in that 5-star review, positive written review, thank you. And last but not least, to everybody that's watching on YouTube, great to see you on YouTube. You can watch as well as listen to our show every single day on YouTube. All you got to do is go to the 97.3 The Fan page. While you're there, how about the old thumbs up? Click the like button for us. If everyone's in there, hit the like button at the same time right now. We jump over 100 likes really fast, so please do that. It helps the show. Helps the station.
And we're going to get into Padres, but yeah, big news. Tiger Woods just pulled out of the Genesis.
I was just going to say that. Tough, difficult, sad news, and weird in its ordering, but then you hear Tiger's statement and you get it.
Yeah.
Last week, in the middle of the week, Tiger's mom passed away. At the end of the week, it was announced Tiger would play in the Genesis Invitational. I'm sure he feels a ton of obligation to play in his signature event. It's where he annually makes his debut. Is at the Genesis. He probably wanted to play at Torrey Pines. He hasn't played at Torrey in a long time where he has had so much success. But Tiger putting out a statement today saying, I'm just not ready. Mm-hmm. And after the passing of his mom, who could ever argue with Tiger Woods?
No, he said, I did my best to prepare, knowing it's what my mom would have wanted, but I'm still processing her loss. And you completely understand where he's at. That just not ready. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, he went golfing yesterday, according to many public reports. Take that for what it is, but he's not going to play in the tournament. So, no Tiger. And by the way, it's expected to rain all the way through till Saturday, from like Wednesday to Saturday.
Is it? Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to rain Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I mean, I hate it for the Genesis. At the same time, we need the rain bad in San Diego.
We do, but boy, the Genesis is just getting just a deuce 7 draw right now.
So will they just essentially try to play around the rain? Because, it's San Diego. Sometimes the rain isn't as heavy or as consistent as they think.
It's a smaller field. It's only an 80-player field, so there are fewer start times over the course of the day, so that gives you a little more wiggle room to get out super early. Obviously, you can't stay out too late. We're not to daylight savings yet, so you can't stay out too late. But they'll do what they can to get it in. There's too much money on the line for it not to figure out. There's too many good golfers for it not to eventually be good. But until the weekend, it may be pretty blah at the Genesis.
Latest report, Friday. It's supposed to be overnight, and then it's supposed to die down with the rain. We get 35% at 6 a.m., down to 15% at 1.
So maybe that day they can
which means only 15% of the county gets rain. That's what the percentages mean.
So all the golfing PJs are going to be descending into airports in San Diego County, essentially.
You think they fly to Carlsbad, or they can fly to downtown?
I don't know. I think we'll go to Carlsbad, and some will go downtown.
I think most will go downtown because that's where the fancy hotel. But hang on a second, now that I'm thinking, all those La Jolla hotels.
That's right.
Yeah, I think Montgomery Field's going to get or not Montgomery Field.
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad's going to get a workout. I think Carlsbad's going to get a PJ workout.
I think so too.
Okay, and that's the golf story, and hopefully, all the best to Tiger, all the best to Mother Nature, all the best to the Genesis.
This has been your golf update.
Hashtag all the best.
April. Masters.
Coming soon. Okay, gang. We got ourselves a left field platoon.
Got a handful of left fielders and a minor league guy. League team.
Are you ready? Yeah. For Connor, Joe, and Jason Hayward.
I am.
Braden,
USD
alum, Connor, Joe, and I saw Brock Ungrich for the head coach, baseball head coach at head coach at USD.
Take coaches in college, you're right.
Yeah. Talking about how Connor Joe's been practicing there all season long and how they're so happy for him and he's just a great dude and he works hard. I think it's cool to have a San Diego guy come back. Look, these are low cost signings, but they are expected to be your starters. This is your starting platoon. And so if you think that the cavalry is coming, like, you can never count out AJ Preller. Who knows? Like, you could get someone in a trade or who knows? But at this point, like, this is your cavalry. These are your people who are playing. And it is what it is. I mean, and you know, you need them to have solid years. Maybe they have a year that's closer to Jerkson profile.
Sure.
Doesn't have to be that, you know, all-star necessarily, but maybe at least a comeback year for them. They both have had some down years. They both have had some really good up years. Jason Hayward, from everything I've heard, just like Connor Joe, is like, at least from what I've heard, is like a cream of the crop person and clubhouse guy and leader and just like someone that you want on your team. But you know, he's got to have a better year than he did last year. And hopefully, and if you got to let one of them go, it's not the end of the world because you're paying such low costs for them, but then you're still kind of left without your left fielding production, I guess.
I think there's decent things that we can say about both these guys, and then we'll say a little bit about Gavin Sheets as well.
Gavin Sheets, yeah, he's part of that,
He's
too.
a non-roster invitee. He's got no guaranteed spot on the club. He has to hit his way onto the team.
Yeah.
These other two guys are going to be on the team, and I am guessing Connor Joe is your opening day left fielder because I am guessing Chris Sale gets the opening day start for Atlanta.
Been pretty productive against left-handers, hit significantly better against left-handed pitching. He's an on-base percentage guy.
He is.
He's going to make his impact more there.
So if you look at it as what I think you should look at it as, which is a strict platoon.
Yes.
And perhaps, you know, there's the random day that somebody needs a day off and both Joe and Hayward are in the lineup against a righty, or God forbid they're both in the lineup against a lefty, because you do not want Jason Hayward playing against lefties at any point this year. Much like, by the way, you don't want Jake Cronenworth playing against lefties, but he will. If you just look at the platoons, Hayward against righties, career OPS 784. Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. Joe against lefties, 766. OPS. Solid.
Yeah.
And if they can play to their averages,
right, and
the Padres can and the Padres use them right, put the puzzle piece together right all the time, get 90% or 85% of their at-bats for both of these players on their strong side and not their weak side, then you might just get a 765, 770 OPS platoon in left, and that is perfectly serviceable in the big leagues. And
you're going to get that for like $2 million combined, you know, or maybe $2.5 million, depending on what we find out from Jason Hayward's contract. But they're low-cost signings, and it's similar to Jerkson Profar, where you're looking for that. Like, if you can get your average numbers or slightly above average, or at least mostly consistent throughout the year, just solid players, and maybe you'll get surprised and you'll have really good, you know, a really good comeback season from both or from one of them. That's all you need. You know, I mean, that's going to be what's helpful for them and kind of where the Padres are at, essentially. Now, Jason Hayward played like left field for a cup of coffee. You know, only 8 of his 1,616 career starts have started in left field. But, you know, that's something that he can do in spring training, and he's played in the outfield a ton, you know.
So he's a great outfielder. He'll have no problem in left field.
I agree.
And so look, I put together just, you know, I went through, looked at the guys, looked at their numbers, looked at their Savant pages, and this would be my mini scouting report on all of these guys. All right. Well, just start with Hayward because that's where you were. He's been an outstanding fielder his whole career. He's a multiple-time Gold Glover. He's been able to, he's been able to play center field. He's mostly played right field. But given the left field specifically he's going to, Petco Park, one of the easiest, smallest left fields in all of baseball, Jason Hayward should be an outstanding defender in left field. Now, will he have the range for Coors Field? He'll have more range than Jerkson did. You know, Jerkson really struggled in any of the big outfields. He was good in the small outfields. And I think there's enough small outfields out there in left field at San Francisco, LA, like go down the list, that Hayward's going to be good out there.
Yeah, Jason Hayward too. He's a veteran player. I mean, he has been around the game. This is his 16th season. He's going to be. I think he's already 35 this season. But I say that in a positive way. Like, this guy knows baseball. He knows the game. He's been on winning teams throughout most of his career. So he understands what's at stake and what needs to happen. And I think he's going to be a great clubhouse presence. And, you never know. You get him around Victor Rodriguez. You get him around this mentality of the line-to-line, gap-to-gap hitting. Because he'll run into some power, too. I mean, like, he'll give you some power.
Yeah, he's a 10 to 15 homer guy. But that's usually if he played all year.
Exactly.
Now, the Dodgers, in 2023, the Dodgers got the best possible version of Jason Hayward. They used him exactly right. They only put him against right-handers, and he came up with an OPS over 800 just 2 seasons ago, 2023. That's what you're dreaming of. You're dreaming that you use him just right. He's happy in his role. He runs into some success along the way, and he gives you a lovely platoon season. And if you can get both guys to do that, you could have a 20, 24 home run left field output, because Connor Joe's about a 10 homer guy and Jason Hayward's about a 10 homer guy. If you're putting them on their platoon sides, all of a sudden you can add up to most of a Profar season.
Now, this is back to, you need everything to go right. You need things to go right for the Padres. And they're banking on that production, and they're banking on things working out, which they did last year, but you're banking on that again, essentially.
In the daily Athletic Baseball newsletter, they covered this, and I think they brought up a decent point, and it's one that we would stand to remember as Padres fans. Put up the career splits that I just told you for Connor Joe and Jason Hayward, and then they put up the pre-2024 career splits for Juan Jurickson Profar. Right now, remember, Joe against lefties, 766. Hayward against righties, 784. Good numbers. Before last year, Profar against righties, 708. Profar against lefties, 698. So last year, the ultimate career outlier for Jurickson Profar, we all believe he's got the ability to do it again and that he'll do well in Atlanta. But if it was a shot in the dark, lightning in the bottle situation last year, then you've got a pretty decent chance to at least come close to replicating it with this group.
You do. The Athletic writes, but bottles are a notoriously inconsistent way of capturing lightning. The Padres hope there's a little electricity left in Hayward and Joe. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you can look at this. You can look at this as glass half full or glass half empty. But the same thing was said of Jurickson Profar last year. Rightfully so. He had the worst season of his career with the Rockies, and things were not looking good. But he ended up being a really good player for the Padres. And so you have two guys here who are, from everything I've heard, are like lunch pail guys, have the right work ethic, the right attitude, the right clubhouse and demeanor. And I think that there's a decent chance that they're going to be able to go out there and find a better result than maybe what they had last year.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back a little bit more on these guys. We'll talk about what Gavin Sheets potentially could bring and some of the questions that are going to be asked starting Wednesday in Peoria. It's your Baseball Hour. Annie and Elsten here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Did you know you can listen to 97.3 The Fan with your smart speaker? Well, now I told you, so you know now. Just try it, and it'll work. Bang.
Boom.
Hey, speaker, play 97.3 The Fan. Done. You do it. Andy and Elsten back with you talking baseball. All right, so Jason Hayward is a Padre. Connor Joe is a Padre. We can add these guys up into a pretty decent fielding left fielder that should get on base reasonably well.
Yeah.
That probably has 18 to 25 ultimate upside home run potential.
And if you're bottom of the lineup and you're able to get on base or move the line a little bit, now you're turning it over and you've got a rise right there to move the line again. It should theoretically, if they can, like you said, match their production or match their averages or a little bit above, they should be serviceable and solid, if not better.
Yeah. One thing I saw about Connor Joe that does encourage me. I saw it Friday, so I'm sorry I'm not going to go back and look it up right now to get the exact numbers. But it was on the day of the signing, was that Connor Joe very often last year was misused by Derek Shelton, the Pirates manager, as the number 3 or 4 hitter in the Pirates lineup.
You know what? I saw something similar, Craig, because he was essentially the leader. He's essentially the big guy on that team.
Yeah.
On the position side.
Right. So they batted him cleanup all the time.
Yeah.
Connor Joe is not that. He's just not that player. And so they broke down the numbers. And when he was hitting at the bottom of the order, which is where he's going to hit for the Padres, he had an on-base percentage around 350 or above. The one thing Connor Joe has, he's got a good eye. Yeah. He's one of the better players in baseball in terms of no chase, take a ball, work a walk, good walk rate, all of that. So bottom of the order, he did well. Mm-hmm. When he was the leadoff guy for the Pirates, he did well because he knew his job was just to get on base. And so he got on base. But his on-base percentage when they hit him in the middle of the order was under 300. Clearly, he was trying to do too much in the middle of the order, trying to be the power guy, trying to be the RBI guy. He was swinging at pitches outside of his comfort zone because he felt the obligation to move the base runners. And he was really, really bad in the middle of the order. He was unplayable bad in the middle of the order, but bottom of the order he was good, top of the order he was good. So to me, I'll take that and go, forget about top of the order, except for maybe a random Sunday against a lefty. Bottom of the order, 7, 8, 9. That's where I expect to see Connor Joe, and that's where I hope he will just use his eye.
Yeah, and that's where sometimes the fit with the team can help a player a lot. Sometimes it's like a change of scenery, it's whatever. I mean, look for him, Connor Joe coming back home. There's the whole great story of that and everything. But the fit, right? Where do you slot in the lineup? How are they going to use you? I don't know if he used it. Did Shelton use him against righties a lot too?
Oh yeah, he was playing almost all the time.
Yeah, so I mean, now you have you're being put into a niche position, right? You're being platooned, and they're very aware of that. So it should exploit the best of them and not the opposite, right? And same with Jason Hayward. He might not be as prolific, although who knows? We saw what happened with Jerkson last year, as he was in the beginning of his career, at certain points in his career. But the fit in the lineup and with other guys around you that are also able to hit the ball, and you understand the identity of the offense, it could be a really good fit.
It could. Add them together, like I said, you probably have a decent player, and then I don't know the exact numbers. I don't think the numbers have been put out for their contracts, have they?
For Connor Joe, yes.
Connor Joe got $1 million.
$1 million,
okay,
and then I think he can get up to another $250,000. I think in escalators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the deal we have to offer: is 1 year and $1 million.
And Hayward's TBD.
Right,
still.
Hayward's TBD, but in the Union Tribune it said he's another low cost signing.
So there you go.
Probably somewhere around
another $1
there.
million and another couple of incentives along the way.
And maybe Peralta is looking for more. I don't know, I don't know if they were out on Peralta, or maybe Peralta's looking for multi-year or just more money, or he's holding out or whatnot. Because it is kind of interesting that they didn't, at least as of right now, sign him back. But it's hard to know what he wants. He hasn't been signed at all.
Now, who's Gavin Sheets? He's a kid with a lot of batting practice and spring training power. Gavin Sheets is a player, came out of college, got to the bigs with Chicago in his mid-20s.
He's a convenience store?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, different Sheets.
Different Sheets. He's
3 sheets to the wind.
had 4. Well, maybe some nights.
You never know.
Did you ever watch that show?
Which one?
3 sheets or
Yes,
something?
I've watched it a couple of times. Oh, I forget the guy's name.
I don't want to hear
Zane or
Annie
something?
asking us if we've
I
watched
know,
shows
it
when she
was
hasn't watched any of the ones that we told her to
Back
watch.
in the day show.
Yeah, it was a dude that always went to like
Bars.
bars. Yeah, foreign bars.
Called like 3 sheets or something.
I'm in
Yeah.
on Gavin Sheets now. Here we go.
Okay, anyways, Gavin Sheets.
Anyways,
Sorry.
Yeah, Gavin Sheets is one of these guys that
We
if
got
you showed up at
Costco guy and bar guy.
bar
now.
guy.
It's great.
If you showed up at batting practice at 5 o'clock, you'll see Gavin Sheets pepper the sand beyond right field, put things out to Gallagher Square, and you'll go, holy cow. But when you look at him, if you remember Russell Branyan back in the day, if you remember Russell Branyan back in the day,
Yes.
this is Russell Branyan light.
Yeah.
He's basically been a full-time platoon player for Chicago the last 4 years, and he's wound up hitting almost exactly 10 homers each year in around 400-something at-bats. Running it, those are 10 hung curves perfectly put in the exact spot that Gavin Sheets turns and launches 450 feet. And then you go, holy cow, this guy can hit it 450. We got to hang on to him. He's got light tower power. And then for the next 3 weeks, he strikes out, and then he gets another one.
And he's competing to make the team. He's a minor league signing.
Yes, he's competing to be the DH of this team, the left-handed hitting DH of this team, and then maybe Connor Joe kicks over as the right-handed DH, and maybe, or he's the first baseman and Brandon Lockridge jumps into the lineup against lefties. Something like that could happen along the way. Frankly, I'm not expecting this kid to make the team. I don't know if he will. He might, but I'm not expecting him to make the team. And when you are an offense-only player, which is what Gavin Sheets is, and you're 4 years into the league and your career OPS plus is 90 and it's never gotten to 100, listen, they're all lottery tickets. Any one of them could fail. They are all getting paid about the same thing. Gavin Sheets isn't even getting paid. He's on a minor league deal. But if a guy breaks through in a situation like this, cool. And if he doesn't, who cares? Move on to the next one. Turso, I guess my general point is Turso could be better than Gavin Sheets today.
And that is the thing that we're probably going to see unfold during camp, right? Is where does Turso fit into this? If at all, how does he fit in? So you'll have some competition there, or theoretically you will. But yeah, I mean, this is another lightning in a bottle. Now, again, it's great if they catch. If they don't, then you're banking on quite a few lightning in a bottles. And I think that's what, as I was reading in the UT, what Kevin AC wrote over the weekend, and we've talked about this, Craig. They're having to make up for 11 WAR. They're having to make up for 11 WAR with Kyle Higashioka, Ha-Sung Kim, Jurickson Profar, Tanner Scott, Donovan Solano, and Joe Musgrove being out for the year. And then you've got 11 players on this year's roster accounting for more than $47 million in salary increases. This is kind of the hole now that they're in of we've got to make up for that WAR, but at a lower cost since we need to get down to that $200 million. And so you are just trying to catch more upside than maybe you would in like years past.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they can't do it. I mean, you just got to you've got to like bet on, you got to like push all your chips in and bet on some of these guys more than you have, I guess, in the past.
I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, we're going to go to break, but I've dinged Ace for it multiple times. I was really happy that he just straightforward wrote what's going on with the payroll in that big piece that was in the paper Sunday morning and was online Saturday afternoon. It's literally all I've been asking for, is that every time that he did a column about, well, the payroll's up here. Oh, well, why are you complaining it's up here? That you put in the paragraph he put into Saturday, which is, here are the players that are all getting paid more on the team to do the same thing this year. I think it's like a $48 million gain or something like that.
Yeah, he has 47.
47, yeah.
Plus the nearly $6 million in buyouts of mutual options that are almost completely going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much going to happen.
So, I mean, that's just that's the secret sauce every single time that they talk about payroll in San Diego. It's the built-in raises that have been there, that they've known for years are going to be there, and then running into them and pretending like it's fresh news is what always irritated me. It's like, no, they've known this forever, that it was going to be this way.
And then that will lead into, and we could talk about it after the break, the conversation, are trades still on the table? Is that
Yes.
something that they're still going to need to do?
Well, let's get to that right after this timeout. What are the big questions that are left to be asked as spring training looms? I'm guessing we'll talk about that a number of times over the course of this week, plus a new top 20 list for Padres prospects. We'll get into all of that as we continue with our baseball hour here on The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Robert Half. 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Seems like a tough industry if 9 out of 10 are like, nope, struggling. Robert Half is like, hey, I'm over here. I'm here to help. Our recruiting professionals utilize an award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. So we've said some very kind things about the left field platoon, and honestly, for $2 million, you could do a lot worse than these two guys. And I think many teams have done a lot worse than these two guys. I would have been far more upset. I'll just give you one random example. Harrison Bader. If you had signed Harrison Bader for $7 million to be the left fielder and to play every day, it's a pretty good chance that he'll perform worse than a Joe Hayward platoon for $2 million. There's plenty of guys I could throw out there and mention that could very easily play worse than what these two guys, theoretically, if they play to their career averages, will put together. So having said that, here's my one concern, Annie. My one concern, and it's been winter long, is that this team changed their offensive profile last year. And that change was a huge, in my opinion, huge part of the identity of their success, which was they went away from low average, pull power, take a walk type hitters, and they went to high contact, high average, maybe a few fewer walks, maybe a couple fewer homers, but more singles, more doubles, better runners in scoring position, performance, way better one-run game performance, and a complete reversal in their extra innings performance from can't win to can't lose. Joe and Hayward don't fit that profile at all. Neither one of these guys is projected to hit 250 this year. And the most likely scenario, I mean, if they both perfectly play to the platoons, maybe 250, 255, 260. That would be like the ultimate top. But more likely is that they hit 220 to 230 with walks and some power. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But it's not the way that Peralta contributed to the team last year, hitting for average with power. It's not the way Solano contributed to the team last year, hitting for average all the time. And I am a little concerned about the impact on runners in scoring position and on, close games when you're putting those types of hitters and maybe moving away from that great attitude that but the great performance we saw all year.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the bottom of the lineup is going to be a little bit, even the middle bottom of the lineup is going to be a little bit unknown, right? A little bit uncertain, which happens. I mean, you have that for teams all around the league. The upside on these guys is very high. The floor on them is also very low, right? I mean, they've had some down years, both of them. They've had some good years, both of them. Who are you getting this year is to be determined. What I like about them is that they've been around baseball for a long time. They both have, they're very respected as far as other players respecting them, coaches respecting them. So you know that they're going about their work the right way. They're going about their attitude the right way. They are people that you essentially like when you have on your team. Will they be able to produce is the question. I tend to think that in this fit, it will be good for them. Just like we talked about in this last segment, like this might unlock for them. You don't necessarily need to be the guy. You need to be a guy that helps, like you said, move the runners over, make sure that you get a timely walk or a hit when you need one. You're key to the puzzle, but you don't need to be the puzzle, which they both have had to be in the past. And I think that especially Connor Joe with Pittsburgh, I mean, he is a superstar essentially. He's one of them on that kind of a team, and he's going to be coming to a team where you're more of a role player by far, So I think embracing that part of it and understanding that, which I have a feeling both of them will do, the fit could work here, but you just don't know.
Yeah. But for what we've got, it's a pretty good fit. It's
I think
not
so,
bad.
Yeah. I think until you know otherwise, you have just as much reason to believe that they're going to have great years as you do that they're not. So you might as well believe that they're going to be a good fit right now and they're going to have a good year.
Now, I saw some questions in the chat last segment about okay, put together a lineup now. What would the lineup look like today? And I think I'm going to give you the lineup I think Mike Schilt would write today. And then because I do that, I'd like to bring up a point afterwards. But I think today he would go Arise, Tatis, Merrill, Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth. Then platoon, left field platoon, 7th. Diaz, 8th. Non-existent DH, hitting 9th. Today, Gavin Sheets, Terso Ornelas, Brandon Lockridge, Eggy Rosario, super mashup. And could it flippity-floppity a little bit and the DH hits 7th and the left field platoon hits 9th? Or could it flippity-floppity and Diaz hits 9th? Yes. But I think something along those lines is where you go with this. And the top 6 looks rock solid. And then a Joe Hayward platoon in 7 is not bad. Diaz is the guy you've got, so you're rolling him out there, him or Campy. And then DH right now is just, to me, subject to approval. Subject to change. I think a player we very rarely talk about is Eggy Rosario. Eggy Rosario needs to make this team this year. He's out of options. The Padres have spent a long time developing Eggy Rosario. And when he did play last year against lefties, he mashed against lefties. He's just a player without a position right now. But I would expect him to play against left-handers for this team on this roster this year.
I would think so. And I mean, that's, again, where we're going to have to kind of see what happens in the spring training with the Tirso Ornelses and the Eggy Rosarios. And, what are these guys, what are their plans for them? Or will they be packaged in a trade? Or will they be more competition for some of these other guys? Are they the depth? Are they the bench? Are they? Yeah. I don't know. So those are questions, especially since we don't know if AJ Preller is going to pull a trade, right? Like we don't exactly know what's going to happen. But I think this is probably where you need to go. Is you need to look at all these guys, and I'm sure this is like not rocket science, and you just need to try to monopolize what they do best and kind of forget the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially around a team that's going to have playoff aspirations and World Series aspirations. How can they help you with what they are most good at? And that's kind of what you need to roll with and get creative with how you use that.
Now, can they make a trade before the season? Of course. I am happy, though, that by making this move and by putting $2 million together and creating a pretty decent veteran platoon, that now you're thinking beyond we have to trade Dylan Cease to get our starting left fielder, right? It's a different thing. This is a slap-together platoon. It lasts a year. Next year you need to rebuild the position, unlike if you had traded for Heston Kjerstad and just, granted him left field for the next 5 years. But also there's an opportunity cost to that, to getting Heston Kjerstad and throwing him in left field for the next 5 years. What if he doesn't turn out to be any better than the platoon that you've got right now? So I'm much more confident in believing the Padres are a playoff team if Dylan Cease is starting on opening day or one of the first 3 games of a series than I am if we make that trade. And it keeps bringing me back to Suarez as the one guy that you can afford to move on from, to get back under the CBT line, maybe give yourself a little room to go get some marginal 5th starter depth on this team. But also, you've got all the pieces in place that can just click down one slot and give you a pretty decent bullpen.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the question, right? Like the thing about Preller is he doesn't usually drop his value ask in return. So what he's telling people he wants for Cease I don't think Michael King's really in the conversation all that much. But say he says I want X, Y, Z, B, G. He typically doesn't drop that to like, well, I'll compromise and I'll just get X, Y, Z. So that's not to say he never does or he never will, but that's usually how he sets that value point and then he usually stays with it. I do think that they'll probably look at it and say what you just said, like, okay, well, we're probably a better team anyways because of the holes on our starting rotation, of which you still need another pitcher. Like, you still need to figure out a way to get another arm in there, whether that's a low-cost guy or trade or whatever. Another arm or two, honestly. But Suarez is the one that you could potentially let go, and you've got enough depth in your bullpen that there should be, I don't know. I say should, but the closer role can also be a little tricky. But you got to try to bet on some of these guys if that's the case.
You do. Now, because I brought up that lineup, I'm just going to bring up something else, and I'm sure I'll say it again. And when I begin saying this, I want to do so by making it clear I do not believe the Padres are going to do this, nor do I believe they've even really thought about it. I don't even think they're going to think about it once, but I'm thinking about it. And you've heard me talk about it last year, too. If I was going to write the lineup, it would start with Fernando Tatis Jr.
Leading off.
Yep. And Jackson Merrill would hit second. And then Luis Ariz would hit. And Luis Ariz would be my number 3 hitter. And he would be my number 3 hitter all year long. And if he wasn't 3, I'd even consider him at 5. Why, you ask? Craig, you're crazy. Why?
Why?
Here's why. There's an old saying, a walk's as good as a hit. And it's not true. A hit's better in many ways. Primarily because you can advance a runner with a hit. A walk advances the runner a guaranteed 1 base only if forced. A hit allows who's ever on base to run as far as they can without being stopped by the defense. Also, a hit is the hitter defeating the pitcher at his primary task, which is to get you out and to not give up hits. And so when you give up hits, there's a psychological effect as well. You've been defeated within the individual at bat. So in many ways, I believe a hit is better than a walk. However, there's one and only one circumstance where that is not true. And that's when you're leading off the game. When you're leading off the game, a walk gets you to first base, a single gets you to first base. Nothing changed. I guess you beat the pitcher, yay. But nothing changed. You beat the pitcher with a walk too. And you use more pitches usually to do it. There's only one time when a walk is truly exactly as good as a single. And that time is leading off the game. And guess what Luis Ariz does more than any other player in baseball? He gets a hit to start the game. He gets a hit. And that hit doesn't advance anybody, ever. Except himself.
Did you say batting third or fourth?
Third. I'd hit him third.
Okay, yeah. So 356 average, 403 on base percentage, batting third in his career.
Yeah.
It's definitely not bad.
Meanwhile, Fernando Tatis Jr. can hit y'all a home run to start the game. Or he could draw a walk and steal a base because he's super fast. He puts pressure on the pitcher in a dramatic way. Like, oh, I could give up the yard here. I could give up the game here facing Tatis. And when he gets on, and then Merrill, well, now you've got a guy in Ariz that gets hits more often than anybody. And guess what all of his hits are going to do now? They're going to move runners. Your hits are going to score runs. They're going to create runs. When he's at the top of the order, the only time his hit creates a run is if somebody on the 7-8-9 got on base. So because of that, I would think about it like Tony Gwynn, and that's the guy you compare him to. Tony Gwynn, beginning of his career, hit Larry leadoff or hit second a lot. But when he got to his elder statesman, he was hitting third all the time. And he drove in over 115 runs one year, batting third primarily for the Padres. I love the idea of letting Ariz's hits score runs as opposed to his hits just putting him on first base.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this last year too with Ariz and whether he should be leading off, or at that point it was talking about Tatis or Ha-Seong Kim or even Profar, who else might be good in that spot. Tatis is good in so many spots. I mean, at leading off, 309 average, 374 on base percentage, 974 OPS. Just batting second for comparison, which is the most plate appearances he's had in his career is in that 2 spot. He's 255, 328 on base percentage, 805 OPS. Tatis will give you the home run, like you said, but what I do like about Tatis, especially when he leads off, is he creates havoc on the base pass. You can't take your eye off of him. He's going to troll you the whole time, even if he just gets a walk or a single. Like, he's going to make it difficult for pitchers to relax, and I always think that's a good thing, a good trait that he has. I could see it. I don't hate it. I could see it both ways, I guess.
Yeah. I know they're not going to do it because I've heard how they talk about it. And the way they talk about it is that Ariz is just the tone setter at the top of the lineup. And that's the guy we want to start the game.
Which he is.
Sure. But Boy, last year walking at 3%, you should never have anybody with a 3% walk rate at the top of your lineup, ever. You should never, ever have somebody with a 3% walk rate at the top of their lineup. His career walk rate's 6%, 6 to 7%. And if he's back to that, cool. Cool beans, great. But still, I feel like it's a waste of a 350 average, and I really think Arise might hit 350 this year.
Yeah.
I think it's a waste of a 350 average to have it leading off. And I think it's a really cool use of a 350 average to have it right in the middle of a pairing of players that's Tatis, Merrill, Machado. You've got all these sluggers and gunners and runners and, smashers around you, and then you've got this guy that's just lacing line drives right in the middle of it. I don't believe they'll do it. I don't believe they'll do it once. I don't know that they'll do it one time all year.
I think it should be considered. I think they should be considering it for sure.
Well, they definitely should consider it. Yeah. If it was Stratomatic, it would be so obvious, it'd be ridiculous. You'd be criticized for not doing it. But I think in real life baseball, it's a real thing as well. And again, they're never going to do it, but they should. What do the Padres need? Padres need starting pitcher depth. They need starting pitcher depth in the worst way. They absolutely need two human beings that can start Major League Baseball games in 2025 if need be. They don't have those players right now.
And here's where they're at. So Fangraphs has them at $207 million right now. If we are to go with the reporting that's been done, they need to get down to around $200 million, which they say will still keep them in the top 10. But we'll see. But the thing that kind of is the concern here is that they have at $200 million or $207 million, they need more pieces than at $170 million last year. Like they are in a more vulnerable spot, even with the higher payroll, because the higher payroll, as you talked about, is really just the raises that they're getting. So, it's not. I don't think it's. You still have a really good lineup. Every team, I think, has spots in their lineup or in their team where you're like, hey, it's a risk reward. I don't know what I'm going to get, but you're hoping for the best. And these are low cost signings where if you had to part ways with one of them, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But you do still need some pitching depth. And how are you going to get that through trade, or are you going to get that through some low cost signings? Maybe I guess you'd have to get like one or two more, maybe $1 million guys, but you'd still have to cut some payroll. I think if you're going to get down to 200.
Let me tell you what. On the free agent hitter market, you can get a Connor Joe or a Jason Hayward for $1 million. The pitcher you're going to get for $1 million to start for your team
throws batting practice.
And
I also just don't know how they do it. If they have to get down to $200 million, you're gonna have to that's why Robert Suarez kind of makes sense. You are moving that $10 million. Maybe you're absorbing some salary that's coming back, but maybe it leaves you also a little bit of room here or there. So that's the only way I think they can do it. Or unless they have some depth that we don't know about.
They don't. I mean, Austin Krob, Omar Cruz, Humberto Cruz is years away. Cale Fountain is years away. Or is it Cash Mayfield is years away. This is the status of the farm system right now. And before you rip A.J. Preller for it and say what a bum he is, remember that you enjoyed 2024. Please remember that you enjoyed a 93-win season in 2024, because that season was built on the back of 3 different trades that moved 12 different prospects out of the organization.
And they happen from this point forward. So the chances of A.J. Preller making a move from this point forward are very good. He does it almost every year where he makes these like you said, first week of the season or during spring training or however he gets it done. But exactly, at this point last year, those guys weren't even on the team who ended up being really significant contributors. Yeah.
But the guys that we traded away, we can't trade away again because they're on other rosters.
Yeah.
So now it's the next group of guys.
If only it worked that way.
Yeah. And this group of guys down here currently, they're not close.
Right.
There's 2 players that are close to the big leagues. We know those 2. If we trade either one, it's a travesty. And everyone below that is a long way away.
And even with Waldron, Vasquez, Brito, you still need another arm or 2.
You need 2.
Yeah, you need 2. Like it's just too much. Like there's your 4 and 5, I guess, if that's the way you're going. But then someone's going to get hurt. Sorry. I mean, I hope no one does.
No, of course they will. Someone's going to get hurt.
Someone's going to need a break. Someone's going to need 6 weeks to rest and recuperate something or other. And what's your depth?
Remember when the Padres took 2 injuries last year, and they did. Darvish and Musgrove out at the same time. Adam Mazur was getting a turn every time through the order. every time through the rotation, I mean, pitching to an ERA of 8, 7.7 something. Yeah. And that was a real struggle for the Padres. We don't have him this year. we don't have a Vasquez waiting in the minor leagues either. Now, if you take 2 injuries, Austin Krob and somebody off the street.
And Morejone's in the bullpen. Mike Schultz already said he's not moving in the rotation.
Yeah. So we need 2 more guys. However we get it, we need 2 more guys. All right, that's it for the baseball hour. We're back with the 12 o'clock Sports Fix, all the weekend's news right after this. Brought to you by the Craft Taco. Whether you're craving gourmet tacos for lunch or a craft beer for happy hour, the Craft Taco is the answer. Now open at the Natural History Museum in Balboa Park, as well as Sereno Valley. 12 o'clock in America's finest city, Monday, February 10th. Welcome back, everybody. It's the midpoint of the Annie and Elsten program. Annie Halbrin, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet. Time to get you caught up to date on everything that happened in the world of sports from the weekend that was. It's your 12 o'clock sports fix. Annie's gathered up all the baseball news, and here it comes.
Yes, let's start with the Padres, who were very busy over the weekend. The team agreed to terms with Poway High and University of San Diego alumnus Connor Joe. They also agreed to signing Jason Hayward, at least reportedly, a 5-time Gold Glove winner and World Series champion. Joe's contract guarantees him $1 million and allows for the possibility of an additional $1.25 million to be earned through playing time incentives, according to the Union Tribune. Terms of Hayward's deal were not immediately available, though both contracts were described by sources as relatively low dollar, according to reports. Joe bats right-handed and Hayward bats from the left side. They are expected to platoon in left field. Gavin Sheets, a 28-year-old outfielder / first baseman who agreed to a minor league deal, has an invitation to big league camp with the Padres. A former second-round pick, the left-handed hitting Sheets, was non-tendered by the White Sox in November after hitting .233 with a .303 on-base percentage, 10 homers and 45 RBI in 139 games. Sheets has started 193 games in right field in the majors, 78 games at first, and 8 games in left. The Dodgers and utility man Enrique Kike Hernandez are in agreement on a deal. According to The Athletic, it's reportedly a 1-year big league deal for the veteran. Hernandez, 33, returns to Los Angeles for a 9th season in Dodger blue. And that was all I found is Padres and a little Dodgers.
Oh, what do you know? Dodgers signing somebody? What a shocker. There's your baseball news. Here's Braden.
Got some NFL stories for you, 2 quick ones, and then some college baseball and softball. Softball already started. Baseball starts this week. New York Jets' Aaron Rodgers' marriage appears to be ending after 2 disappointing seasons as the future Hall of Fame quarterback's unlikely to remain with the team, the Jets, in 2025. Rodgers was 41, flew to New Jersey last week to meet with new coach Aaron Glenn and new general manager Darren Mogi. Source confirmed to ESPN. Fox Sports reported Sunday that Rodgers was informed in that meeting that the team has decided to part ways with him. A Jets spokesman declined to confirm the report. Social media all over the place. Confirm the prophecy. Let the prophecy continue.
This was after,
have the Vikings pick up Aaron Rodgers.
This was after all the talk coming into the season that Aaron Rodgers was connected to the Jets.
That's right.
That's his guy. That's their guy.
Yeah. You look back at the Hard Knocks that they had his first year there. It's just kind of it's kind of hilarious now to look back at how this ended. Because they were like, the reason why they didn't win 2 years ago is because Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Right. And then he played the whole year, and they still suck. So there you go. Tough to be a Jets fan.
Yes.
Philadelphia Eagles won their second Super Bowl in franchise history with a thunderous 40-22 victory over the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. A win so momentous that it might have shifted odds for next year's Super Bowl at sportsbooks across the nation. Going into Sunday's contest, sportsbooks had lines up, some for several weeks, for the Super Bowl champion in 2026, with the Chiefs the consensus favorites at plus 600. However, when the final whistle blew on 2025's game, Kansas City was knocked down to plus 650 and got as long as plus 750 at some sports books. Meanwhile, Eagles flew up the odds board, jumping from 5th place at plus 800 to 3rd place at plus 700. Caesar Sportsbook had them at 625, DraftKings at 550. Now have Philadelphia as the standalone favorite. Baltimore Ravens are tied at the top of the leaderboard with the Chiefs at plus 650, while the Bills and Lions share the 3rd slot with Philly at plus 700. Despite having 2024's best regular season record, there is more uncertainty surrounding the Lions next season that extends to sports betting, as some books have them as long as plus 1,100 for next year's title. So get your bets in now, guys, for the next year's deal. In Division I softball, for the county, or should I say the 3 important teams here in town, the 3 D1 schools. USD went to a tournament in San Marcos, Texas, spelled like San Marcos, but they say San Marcos. Lost to Texas State and to 13th ranked Arkansas. Were 1 out away from beating the 13th ranked Razorbacks. Instead, they fall 2-1 to Arkansas. Took 2 victories over Lipscomb, lost to Bradley, finished the tournament at 2-3. They'll be at Long Beach on Wednesday to take on the Beach. I don't think they're the Dirtbags in softball. They're the Dirtbags in baseball.
The Beach.
Just the Beach.
They're the Beach.
Shout out Dave Marcus.
Battle
They're
the Beach.
the Beach now. Just the Beach. San Diego State softball started the season 3-2. Beat Northridge last week 8-1. Lost to Oklahoma 11-6, but that game went like 9 innings. It was an extra inning game against the second-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. Beat Southern 9-0. Lost to Cal State Fullerton 7-3. Beat Army 9-1. And the Aztecs, the Lady Aztecs out there on the Mesa, start the season 3-2. As for UC San Diego, I had it for a second, and then they pulled up Riverside instead. As for the Tritons of UCSD, for softball, they start the season 1-3. Lost to BYU 8-0, followed by a loss to Winthrop and Portland State, and then beat Portland State yesterday on Sunday 5-2. In terms of baseball, I mentioned before we have the baseball season for college baseball starting up this weekend. As I'll try to pull up the preseason rankings for all 3 of the schools.
Okay.
I do know that USD was picked to come in first. USD picked first in the West Coast Conference. This is the first time in the Brock Ungrich era that they have been picked first in the WCC, trying to defend their title in the West Coast Conference. As for UC San Diego, they got picked 5th in a very competitive Big West. UC Santa Barbara got the most votes for first place with 9, followed by UC Irvine, Cal Poly, and Rich Hills, Hawaii, with UC San Diego coming in at number 5. As for the Aztecs, they come in tied for 4th with 3 other teams in the new Mountain West for baseball. Fresno State picked first with 6 first-place votes, followed by Nevada, Washington State, and a 3-way tie between UNLV, New Mexico, and San Diego State before Air Force and San Jose State. All 3 teams will be in action this weekend, with Valentine's Day being opening day and opening night for college baseball at the D1 level. So baseball is right here in town around the corner.
Good luck to all these teams.
Good luck to the Toreros, the Aztecs, and the Tritons, representing a very good baseball community here in San Diego.
Cool.
That's it for me.
We got a lot of local team news to share with you on today's 12 o'clock Sports Fix, as we always do this time of year on Mondays, because almost everyone plays on the weekend. Let's start with San Diego FC. They took the pitch in a manner fit for public consumption for the first time on Saturday, appearing at the Coachella Valley Invitational in Palm Springs for the first of 3 MLS preseason matches in the desert. Saturday, noontime kickoff. Patty McNair headed in across from Chucky Lozano for the first goal and first lead in SDFC history. It was a short-lived lead. New York City FC put 2 goals on the board in the first half, another in the second. A 3-1 win for NYC FC. Tony Sanchez of 2 Balls and a Mic and San Diego Punto Football was on hand. He will give us a more detailed report in the 1 o'clock hour. The Chrome Dragons back in action Wednesday afternoon in Coachella when they take on the Portland Timbers. That'll be a 1:30 kickoff on Wednesday.
You're just going to see if it sticks. You're just going to insert it. And
Keep saying it. Water on rock.
That's choice.
As soon as somebody repeats it, work will have been done. Wednesday 1:30, and you can watch those games on YouTube, by the way.
These are still exhibition games.
Exhibition
right?
games. 3 exhibition games for them. They play one Wednesday. They play another one this weekend. And then it'll be on to the following weekend.
Yeah, the real thing.
We're on to Cincinnati.
LA Galaxy. Well, we'll be on to LA in this circumstance.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Indeed. San Diego Gulls were working overtime this weekend. Don't think they get any extra pay for that. First, the Gulls dropped a 3-2 overtime decision to Coachella Valley on Friday night. This time an actual team, not the region. Then the Gulls flew up to Ontario on Saturday. Well, they drove up to Ontario on Saturday. They
could fly. They have an airport.
And they are Gulls, right? They're a bird. But they beat the Rain 5-4 in overtime on
Might have
Saturday.
flown in the rain.
Ooh,
Okay.
Gulls flying in the rain. The Gulls continue on to British Columbia. They will fly there this week. They'll have road games at Abbotsford Tuesday and Wednesday. Then they'll go to Coachella Valley on Saturday, and then they will host San Jose at Pechanga Arena on Sunday. Busy week for the Gulls. The San Diego Sockers wobbled on the road this weekend. Their 10-match winning streak ended on Friday with a 9-6 loss against the Kansas City Comets. Then on Saturday, Sockers quickly fell behind to St. Louis, gave up 4 goals in the first period, benched their 40-year-old goalkeeper Boris Pardo for backup Xavier Snare-Williams. Things turned around from there, and the Sockers won 6-5 in overtime on a golden goal by Sebastian Mendez. At 11-2 now on the year, Sockers have 30 points, good for second place. They take on back-to-back champion Chihuahua Friday in Mexico, and then Sunday at 5 o'clock in Oceanside at Front Wave Arena. Speaking of Front Wave Arena, the San Diego Clippers had a sold-out crowd Saturday night at Front Wave Arena for the South Bay Lakers.
What?
Tony was there.
Yeah?
Gwyn?
Yeah, saw pictures of him there.
I saw crowd
Very nice.
shots, and it was legitimately full.
It was like full house, packed
Full,
house.
full,
Okay,
full.
I love this for them. Why do you think that was the case?
I think people came to see the Lakers, and I
I think
think
so.
maybe some people came to see Bronny. Bronny was not there.
Hopefully, it was a good game for this packed house.
Well, it was a good game for the Clippers.
All right.
They beat LA 125-113. So way to go. Clippers are 7-9 on the season. San Diego Seals were in a rough way. Then they picked up a huge win on the road Saturday night. They beat Toronto Rock 11-10 in Canada.
Rock.
Wes Berg scored the game winner with 49 seconds left to snap a 3-game losing streak for the Seals. San Diego stays on the road this weekend. They take on the defending champion Buffalo Bandits Saturday in upstate New York. And a 3-match losing streak has hit our beloved San Diego Mojo, who fell to first-place Vegas Thrill Friday straight sets at Viejas Arena. The Mojo hit the road for matches this weekend at Indy and at Omaha. Tomas Detry was the winner of the WM Phoenix Open in Scottsdale. Genesis Invitational this week at Torrey Pines. Tiger Woods announced this morning, reversing what he said on Friday, that he will not be participating in the Genesis, citing the loss of his mother last week. We'll just breeze to the NBA very quickly to note that Anthony Davis made his Dallas Mavericks debut on Saturday and then was hurt in the second half and is expected to be out perhaps a month or longer
This is rough.
with an adductor strain.
I mean, I don't blame Mavericks fans for like losing their minds now. It's just not looking good. This was the guy you brought in with the hope that he would get you to the promised land this year.
And maybe he still will. Who knows?
Maybe he still will, but he's out for at least, 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
But maybe he still will.
He could come back right before the playoffs and be a dominant force.
It's not like, I know he's got his injury history, but it's just a bad time to get an injury, but it's also just like, obviously the timing of everything is what makes it so hard.
It was literally the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, it was a
to
non-contact
Dallas.
injury,
Yeah.
so it makes it even harder.
It was the single worst thing that could have happened to the Dallas Mavericks on Saturday, and it actually happened. Anthony Davis got hurt in his very first game with Dallas. All right, that's it for the Sports Fix for Monday, February 10th. When we come back, more NBA talk. Trade drama for the Lakers. This dropped on Saturday. Yeah, Lakers came out smelling like a rose last week, except the big man they traded for blew his physical, and now they are left with a giant gaping hole at center that they can't fill because the trade deadline is come and gone. So we'll talk about that and maybe how it might be good news. Plus a kicker story you might have missed from Super Bowl Sunday, and I literally mean kicker, and it's a baseball kicker. Or it's a baseball player
Yes.
who used to be a kicker. We'll figure that out when we come back. Annie and Elsten roll until 2 o'clock. Gwynn and Chris Chicken then on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hey, don't forget, tune in at the top of the hour, 1 o'clock, when we will announce today's biggest fan. With your chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey Suite at a future Padres game. Register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. They're doing a replay of World Baseball Classic.
That threw me off for a second.
Yeah, on
Luis
MLB
Rise.
It was like,
Network.
Luis Rise is up. And I'm like,
That's
wait,
right.
what is
He just
playing right
went
now?
yard. He just
Lance
took Lance Lynn way deep
Few
for a
things
two-run
make
homer.
me happier than Luis Rise hitting a home run, just because, it's just it's a thing of beauty when he does it. And you're so used to him hitting the singles or hitting a double.
But, I mean, remember that one in Cincinnati that he
Yes.
absolutely
Yes.
tanked
Yeah.
down the line?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's possible.
He's so happy when he rounds the
He
bases.
can tank one.
Is the WBC next year?
I think so.
Wait a
Year
second.
after?
It seems like it was just here.
I
No,
know.
it was 2023. It's 2027.
Oh.
Next one's 2027.
So will the lockout, if they have a lockout, affect
Uh-huh.
the
I thought they
WBC?
pushed it back, though.
Did they?
World Baseball Classic returns in 2026.
Oh.
Thursday, March 5th, 2026 through
Really?
Tuesday, March 17th, 2026.
Same year as the Olympics?
I guess so.
So this is like your only uninterrupted spring training. You go back to interruption next year.
Because they were doing they got like qualifying games going on right now.
Huh.
Like South Africa's playing Nicaragua today or on the 20th. Yeah, because Adam Jones is coaching for Spain. Spain plays Chinese Taipei on the 21st at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, it says March 5th through March 17th, 2026.
I thought didn't they move it because of COVID? Didn't they like bump it back a year?
Maybe.
They might, and they
Maybe,
probably
yeah.
just didn't redo the entire schedule. They're like, we're going to stick to the years that we have.
I hate it in the spring. I really do.
Maybe they'll learn
I
from the
can't stand it.
hockey's on their break right now, right? They're on
Yeah.
their four
I
or
mean,
whatever it's called.
I'll stand on this little anthill the rest of my life. I mean, plant my flag on it. Put it in the middle of the year.
I agree.
Put it in the middle of the year. Extend the season 1 week forward, 1 week backward. Create a 2-week stretch in the middle. Cancel the All-Star game and put the WBC right there. Once every 4 years.
I'm guessing it's a CBA thing, so write Rob Manfred. Let him know your thoughts. Put it in the suggestion box.
Could you imagine they move it for that year because they have the CBA going on?
I'll drop it into his Substack chat, see if he replies.
They could do that. Is this? Well, hang on. So after the end of the 2025, at the end of the 2026 season,
Yeah.
so they won't
Yeah.
affect them.
But I would imagine it's like if they were to move the World Baseball Classic, is that a CBA thing? Like, would they have to? Who votes on that?
Does Major League Baseball run this?
I don't know.
Who runs this?
Who does run this?
I think
The
baseball runs it.
WBC.
They've got to have at least part in it.
Who else would? There's no international baseball organizing body.
Well, if you look up the
FIBA?
WBC, it's hooked up with MLB.com. So, yeah, it's curious. Like, if there's a lockout during the WBC, does that mean those players can't play?
Also, how bad was the U.S. pitching staff in 2023 that Lance Lynn was starting games?
The pitching staffs are
Yikes.
never spectacular.
Yeah.
It's been long since Jake Peavy started for Team USA.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So, Saturday night,
But then they'll also have the Olympics, but that won't affect. Never mind.
well,
Okay.
because they're not
Yeah.
letting baseball players play in the Olympics.
Exactly.
Because
You'll just
they're
have
playing in their own games.
players who don't have jobs, maybe, but or are out. Right.
Yeah, the Czech team's going to be
Yeah,
fired
players
up,
with
ready to
jobs,
go.
I
All the
guess.
Boris holdouts are all pitching for
Exactly.
Team USA.
A little showcase of the playoffs.
That makes sense. I like that idea. Saturday night, the first bad news for the LA Lakers dropped in a week. It had been unadulterated good news for a week. In fact, maybe one of the best weeks in the proud history of the Los Angeles Lakers, scooping up Luka Doncic out of nowhere. And then coming up with another trade that no one thought was possible to get a 23-year-old center on the exact same timeline as 25-year-old Luka Doncic, big man and big guard, going to play together for years. Except they won't, because Mark Williams, the Duke center, who's in his third year at Charlotte, failed his physical.
How do you fail your physical?
You're not in shape. I don't know.
I
Nothing's
really
wrong
don't
Hasn't
with
he
you.
know.
been playing?
Yes. He's
In
been
season
playing.
failed physical is insane.
That's hard to do, I think.
I think it's really hard to do.
yeah. Charlotte's like, wait a minute, he's hurt.
Remember, this is the same guy. We
Man.
played the
Well,
clip.
is he
did play the
hurt? Did they
clip.
say what he failed?
No, it just said they failed a physical. We played the clip, whether I forget if it was Thursday or Friday. I don't remember if Braden was here.
Yeah,
or
I was here for that.
You were here.
Yeah.
So it was Thursday. Of the Charlotte halftime analyst shredding, not ripping, not criticizing, shredding like a paper into the paper shredder, Mark Williams, for what he described as the worst effort that he had seen from any professional or even college center in years, refusing to defend, refusing to go out and challenge players when it was his turn to challenge players at the free throw or at the three-point line, that he just put together an unworthy, essentially professional effort in his last game for Charlotte. Then he got traded. Then we said, okay, well, maybe he just needs to get out of a lousy market. Then Rob Pelinka, during the Doncic press conference, said, we've heard about his back injuries. We've heard about his knee injuries. We're fine. Now, we're going to give him a full physical, but we've vetted these injuries and we feel fine about it. And a day later, dude fails. And the Lakers pull the plug on the deal and rescind the trade.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I missed this
weekend.
entire thing. That happened over. So he's no longer with the Lakers?
Correct.
No, Dalton
he was
connects
never
back.
He was never a Laker, as it turned out.
It's so rare for that to happen in
incredibly
any
rare.
sport. So it says that I'm looking at some stories right now. The physical showed multiple issues, but it says it was not failed due to his back. Wow. I mean, that's why when you see so many reports of like people trading, pending a physical, but rarely does the physical not work out. Because usually you do all those things he said, like you vet ahead of time, but I mean, you still have to have your own doctors look at him.
Mavericks fans were hoping that was Luka so bad.
By the way, side note to Luka, he just donated $500,000 to the wildfire victims out of his foundation, so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty
That
cool.
is cool.
Yeah.
He's probable tonight, as well as Dalton Connect.
Mm-hmm. So he just goes back to Charlotte.
He just goes
Yeah.
back to Charlotte, and Dalton Connect is back to the Lakers, and they get their 2031 first-round pick back, and they eliminate the idea of the 2030 pick swap, and really giving up Connect was a very serious thing. The Lakers didn't want to give him up. Now, you get to the summer, and not only will the Lakers still have Dalton Connect that they could trade, and not only will they still have their 2031 draft pick they can trade, they'll actually be eligible that they can trade their 2032 pick this summer as well. So the idea that LA will pivot and maybe make a different deal in the summer and find that big man that they need, it's very likely. It's very likely. However, rescinding this trade, not completely, but in my mind, Annie, pulls the plug on the 2024-25 Lakers season.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely. They will not win the championship.
No, for to that
They,
point.
they will not win the championship with Jackson Hayes as their starting center. There's no chance.
But you got Luka now.
Yeah, he'll play guard.
I know, but like maybe that elevates the whole team.
Maybe,
somehow.
but they don't have they have like the 30th best starting center of 30 teams now with Jackson Hayes, and they have no one behind him.
That's tough.
Yeah, they have literally no one behind him. And here's the problem. Because this happened after the deadline, because they pulled this deal on the
Yeah.
deadline, there's no recourse. It's not like,
You
okay,
can't
well,
trade for someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go get another guy. No, they not only do they have to go to what's called the buyout market now, Annie, which is after the deadline, some veteran players will be let go. They will be bought out of their contracts, and then other teams go and scoop those guys up off the street. Well, one of the provisions of the NBA's salary cap structure, and remember, I really like their structure. One of them is when you go over the first apron, which is where the Lakers are, you can't just sign anybody out of the buyout market. You can only sign guys who got paid a certain level. You can't go sign the expensive guys on the market. So the Lakers can't even go get the best buyout center that's available. They have to get like the mid-range buyout center that's available, which will not be a good player. So honestly, I think the rest of this year for the Lakers is very simply about Luka and LeBron. How do they play together? create a little chemistry. The team's playing great. They didn't have Luka or LeBron or Mark Williams,
Yeah.
and they drilled their opponent over the weekend. They have been Indiana. They've been crushing everybody of late. So I mean, emotions riding high on the positive side for the Lakers, but not getting Mark Williams really hurts them this year. Now, having said that, I feel like maybe they dodged a huge bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. I'd rather Dalton connect anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like there's some problems there that you're probably going to have to deal with for who knows how long.
What's that reunion like, by the way, for Dalton
Right.
Connect? Hey, what's up, guys?
Thanks for moving.
Thought you could get rid of me, didn't you?
What about the Hornets? They're like, okay, your problem now, and then they're
That's
like,
right. I'm like
back.
I'm like a cockroach. You can't get rid of me.
Yes. Where's the effort now?
Yeah.
What are the broadcasters going to say?
And
That situation's different. Dalton Connect's gonna be like, what's going on?
yeah, Dalton's psyched. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? He's like, wait, so now
like,
I get to
here I
play
am, guys.
with Luka?
I get to play with Luka and LeBron.
Don't need to find a new place to live.
Yeah.
Don't need. I'm just, I'm
Yeah,
back.
he was going to the East Coast where the only thing he was thinking about was, well, I'm going to get to play 30, 35 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
going to get to put up 8, 9, 10 3-pointers a game. I'm going to get to start putting up the stats that I believe I can make that's going to make me money. But he's probably pretty happy right now, Dalton Connect. However, I doubt he'll be a Laker next season unless things radically change, and they could. They could. But I was reading some analysis of this, which got into some of the film of Mark Williams' defense, and he might be the worst defender in the league. Like he's on the list. I don't know if he's at the top of the list, but he's on the list. And so the Luka, LeBron, Mark Williams offensive troika, unstoppable. Defense, also unstoppable, meaning they wouldn't stop anybody. They wouldn't stop anybody ever.
Paper thin.
Yeah, so I think this actually winds up being a long-term good situation for the Lakers because I think they fought. I saw Rob Pelinka describe it as a house that you don't know is on the market that you get a tip about for Mark Williams. That like the Hornets weren't actually shopping him, but then there was like, hey, if you want Mark Williams,
Yeah, I
you
bet
have-
they were.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe you found out that the house that wasn't on the market, that was a real surprise. It's because there was no plumbing.
Structural problems,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yes.
The second floor is falling apart, and there's no support beams.
Like you're all excited until you have the inspector walk through.
right.
And then, oh man.
Inspector's like,
Right.
guys, did you take a look at this over here? And meanwhile, just a final tag on Anthony Davis. I really feel bad for the human being because Anthony Davis, for 2 years straight, has been really, really, really good. Top 10 player in the NBA, good. He's been available. He's been healthy. This year, barring one minor thing, right before he got traded, he had been healthy all year. But guess what? He came back from that one minor thing 1 week too soon because he wanted to make an impression, because he read 72 straight hours of how he was old and broken at the age of 31.
Yeah.
Old and broken. And he's like, old and broken? I'm all NBA. I'm one of the best players in the league. Let me show you by dropping 30 and 20 on the... Oh, my groin hurts. And now he's out.
Old and broken.
And now he's old and broken. I mean, he's not that old, but he's broken. He's broken again. And Nico Harrison, buddy, you may feel like it's karma that's crushing you right now, and you might be right. But in reality, it's because you traded for Anthony Davis. You traded for a guy that gets hurt all the time. And when you trade for a guy who gets hurt all the time and then he gets hurt, it's not unlucky. It's not.
Yeah.
It's getting what you paid for,
I
essentially.
mean, that's been the knock on him. Like you said, he's a great player. He's not healthy. So did you not read the Carfax on it? Did you
Right.
not see exactly what was
Didn't read,
you were getting?
Didn't get the Carfax.
Yeah.
They needed the Carfax.
Oh,
The
man.
Lakers got the Carfax on Mark Williams.
It was a total.
It was just
time.
3 lemons set up like a on a slot machine. It was lemon, 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 and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna hit the reverse jackpot." Okay, let's take a break.
Got to the Bernie Mac lot in Transformers. Looking for Bumblebee.
Precisely. Let's come back and play our first silly game of the week. Very excited for this. A week of silly games. And what's up for grabs? A chance to win a trip to Vegas to see Motley Crue live, including 2 tickets to the show, plus a hotel stay at Park MGM. Today we play the bonus round from the very popular Family Feud game show known as Fast Money. So we need a contestant. Phone lines open now. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Give us a call during the break. We'll screen a contestant. We'll come back and play Fast Money next. It's Andy and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Motley Crue just announced a brand new Las Vegas residency at Dolby Live at Park MGM, March 28th to April 19th. You can get your tickets to Motley Crue, the Las Vegas residency at Dolby Live at Park MGM now at Ticketmaster.com, or you can qualify for our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing by winning a silly game. This week, we play a silly game in the third segment of our 12 o'clock hour every day here on Annie and Elsten. We have a rotation of 4 different games that are played, and today the wheel lands on Fast Money. Here we go. It's the bonus round from the Family Feud game show. It is Fast Money.
Oh, it's fast.
We have our resident quizmaster, our resident Ray Combs, Braden Suprenant. Each day during one of our commercial breaks, he goes out and he surveys the in-house studio audience that we have here for Annie and Elsten. If you'd like tickets, go to AnnieandElsten.com.
There they are.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
It's great. Always.
Anyways, he asks 100 of them because we have exactly 100 every day.
Yeah, exactly.
To get their most popular answers to some pop culture questions, and that's the grist for the mill here for Fast Money. We've asked you to call in at 833-288-0973.
Usually an older crowd.
Very, very old.
Yeah.
It's all retirees.
All above 60
I mean, who
years
can be here
old.
from
Right.
10 to 2?
True. Everybody's got, people are working and stuff.
Yeah, not usually anyone 21 to 65.
No. In fact, after
Available.
career day, I realized that they don't even know what the radio is.
We all have children and very
Podcast.
old men
Right.
that are in our studio audience.
I talk on the radio. What's that? Okay. Well, that's
Is
a
that-
different topic, I guess.
Is that in my podcatcher? What is it?
The
Well,
influencer
kinda.
definitely took the show on career day last
Damn
Friday.
it. Well, anyways, here's Jason in Claremont, who does still know how to use the phone. Hi, Jason. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for calling in. You're today's contestant on Fast Money. Before we play, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
I'm a San Diego native. Lived in every beach from Ocean Beach up to Lucadia, but now I find myself in Claremont, which I jokingly call it East PB.
I think that's a fair deal.
East PV.
I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, it's a good outlook.
East of PB.
Right.
It's beautiful. Well, Jason, here's how the game is played. Very straightforward. It's going to begin with a decision by yourself. You're going to pick your opponent. You can either take on myself or you can take on Annie. The host you choose will leave the studio. Then we hand things over to Braden. We already told you about his process of creating the questions. He'll ask you 5 questions. You'll be looking for the number 1 answer. Then the host will come back in, not knowing the answers that you've given, but being unable to repeat them. That's the advantage you get in the game. Then we add up the scores, and if you tie or win, you are qualified. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Who do you want to play, Craig or Annie?
I'll play Annie.
All righty.
Okay.
Annie's heading out.
I live in what is if Claremont is that of PB? What is that for East County? Like
You're
East County.
East
is-
Mission Beach.
Yeah, east.
East.
Mission Beach.
Mission Beach.
East Mission.
East Mission.
Never heard of
Very
East Mission. Well, it's Alpine.
Very.
so.
Very east.
East
Like
Mission.
Atlantic City style east.
Yes.
All right, Annie is left. Jason, I'll be keeping score
Well,
on
they
the
have
old
casinos out
whiteboard.
there in Alpine, so that makes sense.
Here's Braden.
All right, 1 minute on the clock to answer all of these questions. If any of them stump you, you can say pass, and we can get back to it if we have time at the end. Clock will start after I ask you question number 1. Number 1. Name something you could use more of in your home.
Dishes.
Dishes.
More dishes.
More dishes to clean. Name an ingredient you add to food to make it spicy.
Pepper.
Sure.
Yes. We asked 100 men, who is your childhood hero?
And what did they
Spider-Man.
Oh,
Spider-Man.
say? Spidey.
That's a good answer.
All right.
Name something a 5-year-old might pray for.
Bicycle.
Oh, I like it.
A bicycle.
I feel like the old people would have answered that.
I agree.
And
Tell me a kind of gift that kids give their mothers that says #1 mom on it.
A card.
A card.
A card. Good answers, Jason. Very well done. Your answers are locked. Annie is doom scrolling her phone right now.
It's not hopium scrolling.
We're just going to keep doing this.
Annie.
And waving.
Hello.
Keep.
It's only a minute, girl. It's only a minute. I mean, we go a little bit longer than a minute sometimes, but it's relatively only a
It's
minute.
usually a minute or less. Yes.
I've been trying to make it a point to watch you guys a little bit more so I know when to come in, but
Yeah.
I got
We're just so
suckered
boring.
into,
She just goes right to her phone.
suckered into some social media videos. Yes.
That's all right. All right. Jason's Jason's answers are recorded right here.
They are locked.
Annie, good luck.
All right, Jason.
There we go.
Name something you could use more of in your home.
Could use more of in your home. Square footage?
Sure.
Okay.
I can tell by Brandon's reply. That's not even.
Do we want to say rooms?
Yeah, we want to say
Sure.
rooms.
We'll
Rooms.
say
Yes.
rooms.
Well, that's part of square footage. That's fine.
I agree. Name an ingredient you add to food to make it spicy.
Cayenne pepper?
Is that different from pepper?
It is different on
Okay,
here.
cayenne pepper.
That's a good answer. We asked the 100 men,
Good answer.
who is your childhood hero?
Michael Jordan.
Hey, all right.
Not old enough. Name something a 5-year-old might pray for.
I was trying to go old there. Something a 5-year-old might pray for? A dog. A doggy. A
Oh, I
puppy.
love
a
that
puppy.
answer.
Nice.
I love that answer.
Great answer. Tell me a kind of gift that kids give their mothers that says #1 mom on it.
A ceramic mug, like a
A
ceramic coffee
mug.
cup.
That is a great
Gotta
answer.
be. It's gotta be number one.
Great.
It's gotta be number one.
answer.
That mug says #1 male cow. Right on.
Yeah, #1, Mr. Cow.
Mr. Cow. It's Mr. Cow to you.
That's right.
Craig.
All right. Let's get to it and put these answers head to head here, Braden.
Name something you could use more of in your home.
Well, Jason said dishes.
Nobody wants to do more.
I'm going to
dishes,
think about
do
it. It's probably kitchen cabinet space or something.
Mine would be bathrooms.
Bathrooms. That's a good answer,
That seems
too.
very specific for you.
Plans?
Annie
Yes, it
said.
is.
Annie said
Rooms.
Rooms. 21 points.
Okay.
#1 answer was money.
Just money in the house.
I mean,
Look under the
guess
mattress.
everywhere
that's
you
true,
looked, it just
yeah.
money appeared. I think that would probably be the best. Money,
Money
rooms,
trees. Yeah.
shelves, air conditioning, furniture.
Okay.
21 nothing. Name an ingredient you add to food to make it spicy,
Jason said pepper.
which we're going to give black pepper. #1 answer, 31 points.
31.
Jason.
Okay. And he said cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper, chili pepper, 30 points.
Whoa. Well, right next to each other.
Back to back. Hot sauce, salt, Cajun pepper, and garlic.
51-31 after 2.
Ask the 100 men, who is your childhood hero?
Jason said Spider-Man.
That's a good
13.
Hey. And he said, I want to be like Mike.
One. Oh, wow.
Oh, dear.
What's #1?
It was mostly superheroes. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, their dad, and Hulk.
Oh, their dad. That's
51-44. Tight game. Annie's ahead.
Name something a 5-year-old might pray for.
Jason said a bicycle.
New bike. 39 points.
Nice. Yeah,
Love
that's a good
it.
one.
Good answer.
Annie said, I want a new doggy.
Pet. 9.
Only 9.
Pet haters out here. in
Wait,
the
did Jason
audience.
take the lead?
He did.
Jason took the lead.
83 to 60.
But did Jason have mug? Is mug?
No.
Well, we're going to get there in a
No.
second. New bike, toys, candy, parents to stay together, pet, baby brother, and sister.
Jeez.
Were your
Oh, yeah.
six
Kids always like
answers.
hope for a sibling.
Yeah.
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 Well, some.
Okay. Tell me a kind of gift that kids
Okay.
give their mothers that says #1 mom on
Jason
it.
said a card.
A
I
card.
see that.
Oh.
0.
The door is open, my friend, because Annie said a mug.
Annie needs 23 to tie. She needs 24 to win then, right?
Yeah.
Mug is correct. 40.
Oh.
100 to 83. Dub.
Sorry, Jason.
Annie gets her done on fast money.
Cup/mug, charm, t-shirt, pin.
Charm t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff that like was going to Catholic school. They had, like, St. Nick shop that you did, like when you're in
Right.
kindergarten through whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's all the stuff that said like number one dad on it,
Yeah,
number one
yeah.
mom on it.
Yeah, a little trophy, I would have said.
Yeah.
If that would have been my second pick after a mug, would have been like a little trophy. But maybe that's only for dads.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that
dads
before.
get the number one dad
Number
trophy.
one dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a little sports trophy.
Yeah, moms be like,
Mm-hmm.
what's up with this plastic trophy? Where am I supposed to put it? Well,
Thanks for playing, Jason.
nice try, Jason.
Try
Good
again.
job. Try again tomorrow.
That's the second comeback we've had on this.
yes.
The one last time was great.
Yeah, 1 pointer.
1 point dub.
Look out. Well, tomorrow
Bosh, back out to Allen.
Tomorrow we play Mind the Gap, the game of multi-generational trivia. Wednesday is a match game Wednesday. Thursday is Anybody Knows. And then Friday we're back to Fast Money again.
Yes, so more chances to win.
More chances to win. Good luck to all of you. We've got just enough time for a kicker before we go to break, Annie. And in this case, the kicker is a guy who was a kicker. Did you know? You probably do. Maybe you forgot that Phil Nevin was a two-sport star at Cal State Fullerton.
I did forget.
In addition to being an outstanding third baseman for the Titans,
They had football.
he was their place kicker. He was the place kicker punter for the CSUF Titans. So earlier this week, Phil Nevin was on Tim Kirkjian's podcast. And in honor of the Super Bowl, they asked him the question about being a kicker. And in particular, they asked Phil Nevin, would you still be able to kick a field goal? And here was the exchange.
When's the last time you kicked a field goal?
I knew that question was coming. So it was about, it was probably 4 or 5 Christmases ago. I made a comment about somebody missing an extra point or something like that. And the boys say, oh, you think you can still do it? I'm like, absolutely. I can make an extra point right now. So Christmas morning, we wake up and we're opening presents. And sure enough, I got 2 NFL footballs. That was my Christmas gift. And we're going over to the high school to see if you can make this extra point. And my daughter, who at the time was a trainer, an athletic trainer, and studying to do that, she's like, Dad, I don't know if this is a good idea. You better stretch, really stretch a lot.
Exactly.
So we were running around, running routes and throwing. And I'm like, all right, it's time to kick. I felt like I warmed up enough and hit a couple extra points. And we start moving back. And I'm like, geez, I wonder how far I can kick one still. And we got to 35. I remember that. And I hit it and I made it. And I'm like, I need to add a little extra to get to 40. So I'm just going to hit one more from here. And I added a little something into it. And you guys, I felt like my leg went through the uprights. I felt something. I tore my groin. I tore my hip flexor. No joke.
That's awesome.
That is great. And I bet his daughter was like, oh, Dad.
I told you, Dad.
I told you. Yeah.
Told.
You just had to do it.
You.
Tim Kirkjian laughing makes me laugh.
God.
That's so funny. I guess Phil Nevin's been at USD during the fall.
Yeah.
Helping out, and Brock was telling him the USD's got two-way guys, and so Brock was telling him like the strategy of like using both the two-way guys,
Yeah.
right? And like, oh, this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it on this day. He's gonna start this day, and then he's gonna start this day, and then because I want to kind of protect him. And Phil's like, I had Shohei. I know how this works. I know how to do this, Brock. Yeah, I know how the two-way thing goes.
Yeah. I had this one guy.
I had it before. You had the
Yeah,
two-way
yeah.
before it was cool, and yeah, trust me, I know.
Amazing.
Hilarious.
That's good.
Oh.
Brock was so excited to tell Phil, like, he's so dialed in on the
Hey,
two-way guys.
I've got
and
a strategy.
I got these two guys. They actually pitch and hit.
What?
Phil's like, yeah, I had Shohei. A little different.
Glad Phil is recovered and able to walk once again after
right.
tearing his groin and hip flexor in half, trying to impress his kids with a 40-yarder on Christmas Day.
Recovery's brutal.
We're back with some more Super Bowl thoughts and Tony Sanchez on the SDFC opener next. All right, let's get right to it. It's hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten. And as you know, if you are in our biggest fan giveaway group, this is your time. There's 3 times a day that are all for you. There's 9 a.m., there's 1 p.m., and there's 5:30. And here's 1 o'clock. It's time to announce our latest biggest fan. This person will have 10 minutes to call at 833-288-0973 to qualify for our grand prize, 20 tickets for you and your friends for a night in our Odyssey Suite at a Padres game later this season. Remember, you can register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan. So here we go.
Did we get a winner on Friday?
We did not.
There's many fans manifesting right now.
I blame Frank.
Me too, kind of. I actually blame the fan who didn't call for not listening.
Yeah.
But I hope you are listening. David Flowery from San Diego.
David Flowery.
David Flowery.
That's a name.
Trying to
too
send you
fun.
your roses right now. All you got to do is give us a call, 833-288-0973. David Flowery of San Diego. You've got until 1:11 to call the show. 833-288-0973. If you do, you're qualified. If you don't, you missed your shot. And if you are a friend of David Flowery, which is with 2 E's at the end, not a Y.
Oh, Flowery.
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 If you are a friend of David Flowery, please give him a text or a call and tell him to call us.
Do we know if it's Flowery?
It could be.
That's a little
Flowery.
harder to say.
Floweree.
Flowery. Flowery.
Right, David. Call in. Don't let us down.
Don't let us down, David.
We had nothing on the morning show. Morning show went 3 for 5 last week. We went 2 for 5. Gwen and Chris went 2 for 5. We're now in second.
All right.
Gwen and Chris are in last.
We want to finish first. So come on, David. Get in here.
Don't hurt the ball club, David.
No HTBs allowed. 833-288-0973. Hit and reset on the show. Coming up next segment, Tony Sanchez will join us, our dear friend from San Diego Punto Football, from the Two Balls and a Mic podcast, from the Soccer's Overtime podcast as well, that I co-host with him on Tuesday nights. And he was out at Coachella Valley. He was there. He was watching some of the videos, interviewing Mikey Vadas, interviewing Trier, interviewing Lozano.
Did the Wave start their play yet?
No.
Okay, but they're essentially both playing there.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I got to go back and look up when their dates are.
Okay.
When their preseason dates
All right.
are. Next one for SDFC is on Wednesday. They take on the Timbers on Wednesday, Portland Timbers. But anyways, we'll get a report from Tony. He was there. He saw it with his own eyes. He talked to the players. He talked to the coach. He talked to the sporting director. So we'll find out what was what behind a 3-1 loss to NYCFC. That's coming up next segment. Right now, let's get to what we missed on the Super Bowl. We talked about the game on the field, basically, in the first couple hours, and it was a rout. It was a complete, absolute rout.
Committee got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did.
They should have let the Bengals in the playoff.
Should have let the Lions in, despite
right.
despite the loss, move the Lions forward.
This is why you got to make the playoffs smaller, right? Should only had 2 teams in it, 4
it's
teams
okay.
in it.
Oh,
It's all right.
I'm sure the NFL would love that.
What happened to that narrative?
Right.
Where did that narrative go?
Gone.
College football haters.
All right. Let's get to all the other stuff that's not in between the white lines. Let's start with the broadcast itself. What was y'all's opinion? The football part of the broadcast, not the halftime show, not the commercials. The game on Fox. What was your guys' opinion of the broadcast?
I don't pay super close attention to it. I thought it was fine, probably underwhelming a little bit for Tom, but otherwise fine, I guess.
I
mean, it was a bad game, kind of. So it's like
it was a bad game.
Being a sports broadcasting major right now, cannot watch sports without watching every element of the broadcast. So from my perspective, Burkhart was good.
Yeah,
I thought
I
Brady
agree.
was lousy. He doesn't really bring anything.
I agree.
One of my buddies, that came over. He's big into college football. He doesn't watch a lot of NFL. And halfway through the game, he was like, "We got nobody else besides Brady to do this game." He was like, "What is
Greg
he doing?"
Olsen.
Right. But Greg Olsen's he's nice. He's a nice guy, but like he's not much better.
Yeah.
Right? But, Brady's just kind of like Brady said at least 5 things where I think my group that was watching responded with no S, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, need points here. They're down 37 points. Yeah, no S. Yeah. Oh, here's their go-to target right here. Travis circles Travis Kelce. Game's like a 40-point game.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sure
pretty
he's gonna go
obvious
there.
stuff.
It just wasn't very. It wasn't very good. And he's doing okay. I don't want to like just destroy Brady, even though it'd be fun. But he is, with everything that he's doing as being an owner and stuff, he will never fully ingrain himself in being the best color analyst because he can't do a lot of things that most color analysts are able to do with his NFL ownership thing. So that's just what you get out of Brady now is the best you're going to get out of Brady, I think, in the next 10 years.
He did a segment on, I think it was Colin Cowherd, I forget. He did a segment where just like Radio Row, he did and I thought he was so much better. Like there was stuff that he did a segment about how he used to prepare for Super Bowls and the difference between his first ones and his later ones and the way that he would read the defenses and like how different that is from the game now. That gave me knowledge. Gave me insight. I watched that and I'm like, yes, like this is what I want from you, but you just don't hear that during the game.
No, he doesn't. It's almost like he's trying to like play the color analyst role where he's saying things that he thinks he has to say as a color analyst instead of just saying what's going on.
So I generally agree with everything you guys said. I thought Kevin Burkhardt was fine, I guess, how I would just. He was fine. He was fine.
He wasn't bad. He was good. He wasn't. It wasn't the.
He was fine.
It wasn't Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I'll say that.
It was fine. I did think he got. And I completely understand it. But like when was it Jake Elliott, the name of the Eagles kicker?
Yeah.
Like when he backed up after a kick and then he kicked it through, like, hey, it's good. I was like, dude, it's
Gus Johnson calling
27-0 or whatever. Like,
relax,
chill, bro. And like the Xavier Worthy touchdown that made it 40-14 or whatever.
Paul hits a 3 down 40.
Yeah,
Maybe he's trying to get his money's worth at that point.
It really was. He got so fired up. And he accidentally, on the Devontae Smith touchdown, said the truth, which was that it was a dagger that ended the game. And then he immediately walked it back. Because I guarantee you there's like, no, don't say that the game's over. All the fourth quarter commercials haven't aired yet, dude. You can't say that. It's the Super Bowl. And so both of them did this weird kabuki in the third quarter of pretending the game wasn't over when the game was completely over. And whatever. I mean, the game was over the moment that Kendrick clicked the TV and said, turn the TV off. Like everyone should have. But they didn't. So he was fine. Tom Brady could be replaced by AI tomorrow.
I think so. I think there's a lot of other color analysts that could do exactly what he's doing.
I mean, tomorrow. He could be replaced by whatever robot they have doing the Madden 25 analyst script. And it would be equally as good as what Tom Brady did yesterday. Look, the man is getting paid $35 million a year to be the best analyst on the planet. And he is maybe the 90th best analyst of football on the planet. He opened the broadcast yesterday with one of the most nonsensical, non sequitur discussions I've ever heard, where he goes, Kevin, the first time I was a player, I was in that locker room 23 years ago, and I was so relaxed, I took a nap. Then my last time when I was with the Bucks, I couldn't sleep all night. So we'll see what role experience plays here today. Kevin? Go. What? What? Experience? What does that story have to do with experience? One day you couldn't sleep, one day you took a nap, so now that explains experience?
This is where he did a lot better on the podcast. He talked about how when he was younger, he didn't realize the magnitude of it. Like he won in college, he won in high school, he won at every level. Here you are, you're a rookie quarterback or in early in your career, and you're just winning all the time. It's what you're used to, and then you start going for a long, long time without wins or without Super Bowls, and you realize how much more meaningful and how much bigger it is. He just needed to explain that better. He did that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Rod said it in the chat. He talks Brady uses his experience, but talks about how great he is more than what's going on in the game. Like he makes it more about him than explaining what he had experienced into the game, which you totally got from a lot of the things that came. It almost felt like he was just kind of bragging about himself for most of the game.
It was a really, really, really mediocre performance as a Super Bowl color commentator. It was.
They need to revamp like that whole the set of like 7 dudes like Gronk
useless.
and like
Useless.
that was a mess.
We
Like,
said it last night. They got to get a whole new crew.
They got to get a new crew, or they at least need to get half of a new crew. And I don't know why they all need to be out there. It was just too much.
First of all, there's too many of them. Second of all,
Yeah.
they're all so far out of football that it's time to retire.
At least get some younger guys in there.
You don't need
and
Jimmy
not
Johnson
Gronk.
on there anymore, and he was great when he did it. You don't need Howie Long on there anymore. You don't need Terry Bradshaw on there anymore. Michael Strahan is overused at this point in time. The only one you really need to keep is Gronk for like the comedic relief, but
Right.
you need to get like 2 or 3 guys that have played within the last 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys haven't played in forever, and the game is totally different now. And you could tell their preparation's not the same as it was when they first started. It's just time to cycle out and get some younger players that have just got out of the league that still have these like personal connections. That's what makes Romo so good. In that first year, he still knew everybody.
Yeah.
And so he knows the inside. He's talking with everybody. That's why he got to pick. He knew every play before it happened because he would just talk to the players, be like, "Hey, what play you running here? What's this? What's that?" It makes it so much better. But when Brady's not allowed to do that, and you have a crew that isn't as active in the NFL as they were when they first got out, it sets up for what you've had on the pregame show and during the broadcast. And I think this is more of a Fox problem than it is a CBS problem right now.
No, I
agree.
agree. On the one hand, I love that they've kept them together. Like they have allowed for some of that because sometimes they change guys so much. They change females or whoever's out there. They change them so much. So on the one hand, I like that they've kept them together. But on the other hand, it's like you probably need to mix it up a little at this point or after this one.
Yeah.
It's time to
Yeah.
refresh, right?
Yeah.
It's time to
They
refresh.
had a good run. That group had a good run.
It's the same thing with Bill Cowher on CBS. I mean, Bill Cowher hasn't coached in forever.
Yeah. What are we
I mean,
doing here?
what does he need to be on there for?
Speaking of what are we doing here, why and I want to tell you, I read about this, so tell me I'm wrong, fine. But why do we need artificial intelligence to create a fake Jimmy Johnson to talk about his career
Yeah,
when you
nobody
have the
cares.
actual Jimmy
I didn't
Johnson?
You're
see
still
that. I
paying
don't
for the
even
real
know what
Jimmy
that was.
Johnson.
I don't know.
What the hell? Why do we have to make an artificial intelligence everything? Like, do we really need to run humanity out of humanity at this point? Today, 2025, we have to do that? I don't get it. The Fox score bug, lose it. Burn it in fire.
I liked it.
I didn't care. I thought it was fine.
It grew
Yeah,
on me.
It grew on
It
me
grew
too.
on me.
But I know a lot of people
My
hated it.
dad
but
was like,
I
you
just-
know what?
didn't
I can
bother me.
actually see it.
Yeah.
And you know what? If the majority of people watching sports are older people that can't see anything anymore, fine. It's not very creative, but you see everything. I mean, it shows more of the game with the clear behind the score. I mean, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, you know what? I know how many timeouts there are. I know what down it is. I know the play clock, the game clock. Can't miss the score of the teams that are playing in it. I'm not opposed to it.
All right.
It grew on me. When I first saw it, I'm like, that's it. Because I think the thing with the bug is everybody knows in the Super Bowl, whoever has the Super Bowl, they're unveiling their brand new score bug that you're going to see
Right.
for the next season. And so it's always like, let's see what it is. And it's like, this sucks. I hate this bug. Because it's not what you saw the entire year.
Right.
The more you watch it, you're going to be like, okay, whatever.
Fine. I guess I really don't care.
It
At the
doesn't
end of the
really
day, I
matter.
guess I don't care.
Just show me what the score is and how many timeouts they got. And that's all I need.
We can all agree the commercials were just complete trash.
They were just whatever. The seal one creeped me out.
Yeah.
I could have done without that one, but they were. I didn't see all of them honestly.
I didn't even
they were,
see that
They were
one.
just okay.
The ones in the first half were uniformly bad. Like I didn't think there was anything good. And then someone told, there was this one, and then like I don't need Harrison Ford a 2-minute
was
random
long.
ass freedom adjacent speech while driving around in a Jeep.
Even though he owns a Tesla.
I like the Nike one, but that one you're going to see for all time.
As always, any commercial that's actually decent, you watch the rest of the year. But all the rest of them, you just subject yourself to in this weird thing that we talk ourselves into every year, thinking that it's going to be good, and then shockingly it's not. And then you're like, oh, and ta-da, and then we move along. And I guarantee that there's a disparity of opinion on this throughout the audience. Feel how you want; it doesn't matter. I thought the halftime show was amazing.
I I loved it. I thought it was great. I liked his use of choreography. I liked his use of visuals. I thought it told
the
the
dancers were
story.
really good.
The dancers were really good. I thought that clearly I like Samuel L. Jackson and Serena, and I mean, I thought there were like a lot of good touches. I liked it. I don't know.
Yeah. Personally, I'd put it right up there with Prince. I thought it was one of the best in the history of the Super Bowl. And then when you get into the layers below it, just the fact that Drake used to date SZA and used to go to Serena's games. Like, not only were they a couple, he went to her practices. He went to her tournaments. He was like a follower of Serena. To go from that to a decade later, and Serena Williams is on the Super Bowl halftime stage dancing to Kendrick's diss track of Drake. Dancing. Two of his exes on the stage at the Super Bowl dancing to his diss track.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a troll job for sure in a lot of ways, a lot of different ways. But I saw too that I didn't realize that she sea-walked at the tennis something open, one of the opens.
Some event.
One of those Tennessee
tennis
Open
events.
things.
Tennessee openings.
And got, like, I guess, killed by the media for it, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But whatever. So, like, there was that whole thing. She's from Compton. He's from Compton. That whole thing. But no, I thought it was good. I thought it was. You knew he was going to troll in whatever way he could.
Oh, when he stared right at the right.
Yeah.
Well, I loved the pump fake. I loved the whole thing with the four singers behind him and like.
Yeah.
You know the song I want to do, but somebody loves to sue.
Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I thought Samuel L. Jackson was incredible. The subversiveness of it, I thought was great. I went back to watch it. I'm telling you right now, I went back and watched it a second and a third time.
Yeah. You can find little Easter eggs all throughout it of
A lot.
Things that he kind of
And
planted.
he rapped
Yeah.
live almost everything.
That's crazy because if you looked at how big that set was and how he moved around it, the fact that he wasn't out of breath killed me.
Yeah, I know. He would. I just honestly, I would put it right up there with Prince and different style, different decades apart, but for 2025, 10 of 10. I can't wait to go see his concert in May. Having watched it, I was watching it with my son, as I mentioned. He kept coming in going, why is the game still on? When's the halftime coming
It's just
on?
so hard to do too because you're doing it for the audience there, but you're also mainly doing it for the broadcast and like all the different director shots, all the different dancers you've got to figure out, all the different places on the stages and how it's all going to coordinate. And then you have to get that thing set up within like 5 minutes and get out there. I mean,
Yeah, it's a circus.
It's crazy, yeah. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good production.
Yeah, absolutely dynamite. Single best thing of the day, and literally the fact that Kendrick ended it with TV off, with one of his songs, TV off, turn this TV off, turn this TV off, turn this TV off. And then he looks at the camera and just goes, click, boom, lights go black, except for the people who have their little bracelets
Game
in the upper
over.
deck that says game over. I'm
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, this game's over. It was over, man. Should have just turned it off right then. You were on it, Kendrick. Absolutely beautiful. Great stuff. Best thing of the day in my personal opinion, by 100 miles. And again, your mileage may vary. And if you hate Kendrick or you've never heard his music before or whatever, and you say, I saw someone early in the show, when are we going to get a rock and roll act? Like, don't worry, man. Don't sweat it. It'll be along before you know it. But for me, right there. Best of the 21st century by a mile.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't compare them because I just can't even remember them. I know I like them. Usually I like them more
like
often than
that,
not because I just know how hard it is to do something like that.
The one in LA was cool. They had all the LA rappers.
Yeah,
That
Except
was,
Prince's
Dre and
number one.
Snoop.
Yeah,
I
I
love
thought that
the
one
LA
was great.
one. I thought the LA one was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had all the guests on, the special guests, and their sets were cool too. But yeah, except for Prince. Prince is number one, obviously.
Prince will always be number one in the rain at the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
But I'd put K. Dot right there.
Yeah.
Number 2 on the list. Let's take a time out. When we come back, Tony Sanchez joins us live with a review of the first ever viewable match for San Diego FC. All the information you probably didn't get over the weekend, you'll get it when we return right here, San Diego's number 1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I'm just happy when those kids get together. It's a happy ending. Every time. Craig Elsten here for Underdog. Hey, put the NFL in the rear view mirror. It's NBA season on Underdog now, one of the leading daily fantasy sports apps, and now available to play in the Golden State. Want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can using Underdog. All you have to do is play DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports. How does it work? You pick as few as 2, as many as 8 different players, have to be from 2 separate teams, and you choose whether a player is going to go higher or lower on one of their stats, like points or assists, rebounds, three-pointers made, turnovers. It's all there. And they've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. You can play with as little as a $1 entry. And if you got everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. I was certainly all over it during the big game yesterday. In fact, hit a couple of very nice entries. Would have had a huge day if Jalen Hurts hadn't thrown that pick in the second quarter. Nonetheless, it's a lot of fun, and you can find out for yourself. All you have to do is download the Underdog app, sign up now using the promo code CRAIG, C-R-A-I-G, and you'll unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun. Sign up with promo code CRAIG. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. $126 on the fan. Annie and Elsten here with you till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will check in from 2 to 6. And then at 6 p.m., Matt Scraby, A Man Alone. with his thoughts
I
from
was
6 to
visiting
7.
Scrabistan earlier. It was hard to get out.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, you made
I
it
got
out.
stuck
Oh,
there a
yeah,
little
that's right. We're trying to give away the biggest fan, and we're like, where's Annie? Just sending a
Trying to make my way out of
rescue team.
Scrabistan.
She came running down the hallway.
Caught in customs.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's a typical thing when you go into Scrabistan. You're not allowed to leave with your dignity, and so they always stop you at the border and check to see if your dignity's intact.
I
and then-
usually visit like once a show because you guys know I get a little antsy. I need to walk around a little.
I do.
And so he's over there, but sometimes you do. You get caught in the borders, you know?
It's understandable. It's
Scrabistan.
understandable. All right. Little chance to talk about the newest major league club in San Diego FC. Their first match is 2 Sundays away, taking on the defending MLS Cup champions LA Galaxy up at Dignity Health Sports Park. And then 1 week later, Saturday, March 1st, the first ever SDFC home match at Snapdragon Stadium hosting St. Louis City FC. The men who cover it all do so for San Diego Punto Football, the local independent soccer covering website. That's Tony, Chiva, and Abe. And the guy who comes on our show all the time is Tony Sanchez. He's joining us right now on the 97.3 The Fan hotline after going out to Palm Springs to cover a 3-1 New York City FC win, I should say, over San Diego. San Diego dropped it. What's going on, Tony? How are you?
Good. Enjoying here, coming back from Coachella, nice little drive, and getting ready for this last 2 weeks before MLS is finally here in San Diego.
All right, well, let's start with the scene setter. Then we'll get into the match itself. But tell us what it's like being at the Coachella Valley Invitational. Who's there? Their crowd. I know there were some supporters there. What's the whole scene? Kind of like, what's the setup for this?
So this is a setup that honestly looks more like a youth soccer tournament in a sense for the professional setting. It's very open. It's a space where there are just 2 concurrent fields at the same time. You can really see you can really see the amount of attention that comes here for this preseason tournament. And San Diego FC had the most supporters out there only because this is the first time that they're out there in public. They're able to really come in and showcase what they've been working on this entire 2 years. And San Diego FC and their supporter union was out there in full force and had the most people out there supporting for this first match.
So, Tony, understanding that it's an exhibition and exhibitions usually mean that teams are working on things and they're not their final product. Can you give us a little bit of a match review, though? How did SDFC look? What do you see clicking, and what do they need to work on?
Yeah, the first matchup coming in today, we actually spoke with head coach Mikey Valles before, and this is the last game of the conditioning phase of preseason. Essentially, all the players are coming in after a long holiday. Everybody had, some resting time, and so they're not match fit. However, this was the last match in that phase. They had actually had a very intense double training session the Friday before going into this matchup. So there were a lot of heavy legs, and there were a lot of areas that the San Diego FC knew that they were going to be lacking. The energy, the momentum wasn't going to be there, essentially. But now moving into the next 2 phases, next 2 matches, that's when you're really going to go ahead and see what the starting 11 is going to be on February 23rd against LA Galaxy, the champions, for the first ever match.
Tony, I watched the whole first half in detail, not as much of the second half. I thought that SDFC did a reasonably good job of creating chances. Obviously, they got the one set piece that turned into a goal. Lozano lifting a center cross, Patty McNair heading it under the crossbar. Well done there. Had a couple other chances that maybe dried up. A couple decent saves along the way. So I thought the attack, especially first game, looked okay. Didn't really get Ingvartsen involved, but boy, the defense was really struggling out there, man. And NYCFC got 2 in the first half, but I thought they could have had 4.
Yeah, the attacking is what San Diego FC is really touting right now, and that proficiency, especially going with Chucky Lozano, who you can definitely tell is a step ahead of most of the competition that was out there from New York. But the defense is really a point that's going to be telling whether or not this is going to be a successful club. If you score 5 goals, it doesn't really matter if you allow 6 when the regular season comes in. And so there's a lot of questions to plug up here, especially having a midfielder play at a right back position, something that they had never played. That's Alejandro Alvarado, who had a fantastic game, but did get exposed because of that lack of experience in that position. But you did see highlights through Paddy McNair, defender, getting a goal off of a set piece that's pre-worked on, and it was a very good heads-up play. But then the goalkeeping situation is also one that's up in question, where you have a couple of goalkeepers in Dos Santos, and you also have goalkeeper Cisniega, who aren't necessarily number one for any sort of MLS competition as of right now. But they are hoping that with the offensive attack and transitions, San Diego FC can make up some of those defensive lapses. But let me tell you, that defense is certainly going to need some work. And they did get a right back today. It was announced by San Diego FC earlier today that from the Right to Dream Academy, they're actually going to go ahead and have, Willie. Oh, where'd he go? Going to have Willie Kumado join in on the right back, part of that Right to Dream lineage, a graduate that knows how to play the attacking style that San Diego FC is looking to go ahead and implement starting this season.
Tony, I believe you got to speak with some of the players after the game. What are they saying? What are you hearing as they try to gel and create cohesion ahead of their matches that are going to count in a few weeks?
Right now, it's very interesting where the different players are. Some have never had a preseason such as this, a preseason where it's in public as well. But everybody's adapting. And for right now, the energy is very, very good in terms of the chemistry that's being built. There are partnerships that are happening. There are mentor-mentee relationships that are being worked on. But the unifying leader here is Yepes Verskov, who has been wearing the captain's armband a couple of occasions here on preseason. And that is going to be the focal point of this play style, that midfield that's going to be driven to move the play up, but also be able to track back down in those spaces. Right now, the morale is really good. Everybody is having a great time so far. But come the results when the season starts, then you're going to start seeing exactly who's gelling where and who's going to need some more support in their area.
All right, one more thing before we let you go, Bunny. What was the difference for Coach Vares' lineup, first half, second half? Was there serious substitution? Did you think you saw close to the March 23rd starting 11 in terms of the lineup that was introduced? And then what's next in the week for SDFC as well?
I do believe that you're going to see a very similar lineup than you saw in the first half of San Diego FC. However, in the second half, they have some really good game changers in the face of Oni Valakari and Alex Main, who really changed the pace and changed the way San Diego FC was attacking. The attacking prowess actually increased in that second half. But now for San Diego FC, they're going to go ahead and look towards a matchup against Portland Timbers here on Wednesday, as well as New York Red Bulls. And this is going to be the launching point for the season and getting those MLS reps in, because they've been playing against USL Championship, one rung below, but now having MLS opponents in preseason is really giving the players an idea of what they're going to be facing week in, week out.
All right, Tony, I know a lot for you guys to chew on tonight on Two Balls and a Mic. Let everyone know where they can watch the show this evening, as well as support San Diego Punto Football's content all week long.
Absolutely. You can check it out, sandiego.football. We have Two Balls and a Mic tonight at 8 p.m. live every Monday. And we're actually going to have a guest, San Diego Wave head coach Jonas Eideval, to talk today. And we're here every single Monday. Check it out on any social media platform. And you can find Soccer's Overtime, same there as well for San Diego Punto Football.
Appreciate you, Tony. Talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.
There he goes, Tony Sanchez. Guy's so hardworking.
I know.
He's out there. Someone's got to cover soccer in this town. I don't think any of the TV stations went out. I don't think anyone out. Tony went out.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Someone's got to cover this thing.
Give us the eyes and the ears.
We're going to cover it too. We're covering it all for you. It's happening so fast.
Yeah, and I mean, he's so right. Like exhibition games, especially that first one, like you're just trying to shake the athletic rust off, right? Like you're just trying to shake the heavy legs and the feeling of being back on the field.
All right, let's take our last break. When we come back, we're opening up the phone lines. In fact, let me do the magic moment. we've opened up the lines now. 833-288-0973. Lines are open. 833-288-0973. We'd love to have you call the show. You got 15 minutes to give us a ring. If you call between here and 1:50, we're going to get you on the air. All we ask is that you have a question ready to ask Annie, Braden, and myself. It's called Ask Us Anything. It's coming up after this quick timeout. Annie and Elsten leading up to Gwen and Chris right here on The Fan. 1:42 is the time. Final segment today of Annie and Elsten. But we're right back rolling with you tomorrow. In fact, it's a great week here because Wednesday pitchers and catchers report, but much more importantly, Wednesday Sam Levitt reports to Peoria.
He was just in here earlier getting all of his equipment,
All his gear.
Nice.
wheeling it out.
Surprised I
Yes.
haven't seen Dave Marcus yet.
Yeah.
He usually pops his head in right before.
Where's Dave? Is Dave?
Dave's out there all
Can
the
he get in the
time.
building? You know.
People like, I'm sorry, sir, do you work here? He's actually been here probably longer than everybody that's technically been here. The only one that's been at the fan longer than me has been Dave Marcus. And he got hired 3 months before I did.
That's wild. Well, once Sammy is there, he'll be on every day with Ben and Woods. Last year, we kind of went to a 3 days a week format with Sammy, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And the thing is, our show's kind of in his wheelhouse. Game happens. The chance to talk to players after they get off the fields is usually in between or after. So we're kind of in a busy time for spring training, Sammy. But nonetheless, he always made great time for us last year, and I'm sure he will do it once again this year. So really looking forward to that, to getting the daily sound, our daily shilt. Is something that we bring you on the show during spring training as well. What we get from the players, what we get from everybody. That delightful Yuki Matsui introductory press conference last year.
That was
Remember
great.
that? So, like all of that, you'll hear it all during spring with us on Annie and Elsten updates. Once they get to actually playing Cactus League games, we'll have the updates for you during the show as well. So really looking forward to that. Tomorrow we play Mind the Gap. Tomorrow we'll bring you Padres top 20 prospects, who are some players who maybe, possibly could get a look by the end of the year. Is there anybody? Is there literally anybody in the minor leagues that we could see during the course of the season? We'll talk about that all with you coming up on tomorrow's show. Right now, phone line's still open, 833-288-0973. You've still got 6 minutes to call the show. So if you heard me give the number right now, why not give us a call? 833-288-0973 as we hit the bumper. Eight 288-0973. That's the number in case you forgot. Brad in Escondido knew the assignment. Here's Brad on the show. Hi, Brad. Ask us anything.
Hey, guys and lady. How you guys doing? Hey, I'm going to have a question for you. Padres tight payroll. How come somebody hasn't approached Manny and say, hey, Manny, take $15 million off your salary and defer it, help the Padres?
It's not the
Never
NFL,
hear
Brad.
that. Come on.
Doesn't
Rick.
work like that, Brad.
No, it's Russell Wilson said I left a little money on the table.
It's
for
not the
Broncos.
NFL. It's not the
$100 on the
NFL.
table. Come on, man. It's better for the team.
Yeah.
Brad, I completely appreciate the question,
I
and
know.
I don't want to put it on Manny and them. I don't want to put it on these players. It's not their responsibility. I mean, I get it that you're seeing deferrals and everything like that, but Manny did backload his contract for that reason. Now he's going to be making $39 million or $40 million or whatever coming up, but he backloaded it to give the Padres some flexibility. You know, they went out and made some more contracts signings and kind of closed that flexibility, but I don't know. I don't want to put it on any of the players. Like, to mess with their money. You know what I mean? Like, it's their choice.
Thanks for the call, Brad. It never happens in baseball. When have you seen a contract
That's
like
the thing.
torn up midway and changed?
That's the thing. Until
I think we've seen players do stuff where they like take. I don't know. I don't know the last time. I think it's more. That you either see things like what he did, which is backloading, or you see the deferrals straight up when they sign. But the deferrals, understand this, that the deferrals, the Padres can't necessarily, not every team can do the deferrals the same way because you have to prove that like you have the money in the account already or whatever, that it's just like sitting there ready for when it accrues and the player gets it. Like, even if the player wanted to do a deferral, sometimes doesn't mean that the team has the ability to do a deferral.
Yeah.
the first Padre to renegotiate his contract will be the first player in baseball to do it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
no
the Players Association would love that
Yeah, that's
precedent
another
being
thing.
set.
It's the Players Association.
Hey, I want you to give up all of your money to.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the idea. The thing is it's not the NFL. That happens in the NFL because that's how the structure of the league is.
And the buck stops with the people in the front office. I mean, that's whose responsibility it falls on to make sure that there is or isn't flexibility or whatever.
The other thing with the National Football League is they do that, and the contracts are not guaranteed, and then they ask for more guaranteed money on the contract, but they take less money for. Like baseball, it's fully guaranteed. Why would I ever change my contract ever? There's no reason to.
833-218-0973. Just had two people.
Paul got cold feet there.
Yeah, call, get on hold, and then drop in a minute. Like, guys.
Come on, Paul.
You're right there. You're right there.
Didn't want it bad enough.
Here's Isaac in Chula Vista. Isaac, straight to the airwaves. How are you, sir? Ask us anything.
Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. I wanted to ask you guys, when it comes to a major league athletic player, what do you personally think are the best traits of a player that you would want to see, or personal traits? Your personal best traits of a major league sports player of any sport.
Got it. So if we're looking to create an ideal major league sports figure, regardless of sport, what are some of the traits that are common to greatness?
I think really strong mental game, the ability to compartmentalize mentally and bounce back.
Nothing scarier than a calm individual.
Speed. Ice in his veins, right? Or her
things
veins.
you can't teach. Speed.
Yeah, speed. I feel like speed transcends all sports.
Speed. Yeah.
What I have found in common with all-time great athletes is a confidence that belies anything.
Swagger.
A serene, supreme confidence that you are the best in the world, and that no matter how many times you've not succeeded, the next time you're going to succeed.
Yet that accompanied by the hard work. I mean, I still look back at what Kobe used to do every day, and he was the best player. And the amount of work he would put in behind the scenes and at UC Irvine and at, all these places where he had to get better. Like, he was never satisfied. So, confidence with the work ethic.
Here's JL in Rancho Bernardo. Hi, JL. Thanks for calling. Ask us anything.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you're having a great day.
It's going well so far.
Hey, so I'm not a fan of the team, but my question is, why do you give the Utah Hockey Club's name such grief when San Diego Hockey or Football Club,
I know,
and San Diego Soccer Club and LA Football Club and Soccer Club is okay? How is that okay and cool?
It's not okay
Yeah,
with
Braden.
me.
Yeah,
It's
Braden.
not.
Hockey Club.
Yeah, Braden.
It's
cool.
not okay with me. I think it's lame.
This is
This
a great
America.
point.
We have team names in America.
Yeah, Braden.
It's okay with Craig. It's not okay
how
with me.
about that? Our own soccer club doesn't.
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
This
Well,
is a good
soccer.
point. I hope
Soccer's
Football
FCFC
club.
is listening.
Sorry.
San Diego Football Club.
Yeah, I think it's boring and I think it's lame. But that's how soccer.
Also-
Whenever they started, because when the MLS first started, they all had team names because it was
Yeah.
It was in America.
Yeah, Kansas
And
City Wizards, New England Revolution.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Mutiny,
LA
and they had
Galaxy.
Chicago Fire. They had some cool names, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're gonna go by Sporting KC. It's like, well, they're not. It's not Europe, dude.
So they're equally as lame. Is that what you're saying?
For me, yes. For me, yes.
I think
Let's
it's,
get creative.
I think it's
All right.
equally as lame too, JL.
It
I
is.
do too.
It's equally as lame.
We could have had a name,
Okay.
but we're just FC,
But
whatever.
but the fact that hockey, everybody's got a name but them.
yeah, that's what
That's
Braden
what draws
hates.
the line.
Trying to
there.
make fetch happen.
At least there's multiple in MLS. I mean,
Right.
if they want to do that, that's their prerogative.
Yeah, you
But-
have to hate half the league.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
When you hate
well,
the FC.
I certainly don't want to start a new trend. I don't want the Kings to lose their name, right? I don't want
Right,
the
100%.
Rangers to lose their name, but
the LA
Yeah.
Hockey Club.
but
Sick.
I just lighten up on Utah Hockey Club a little bit. That's all.
Well, no, you know why? Because they could have picked some cool names before, and then they punted and went with Hockey Club.
Here's the thing, JL. It's in my contract. I have to draw at least 2 fouls per show.
That's right.
So
The Hockey Club.
it's an easy foul for me to pick up
right.
every day, and so I just it's like taking the free spot on the bingo board.
That's right.
Good call.
Okay, all right.
It's a good call.
When you
He makes a great
when you
point.
dangle the carrot of
Yeah.
Yeti and Mammoth and cool names, and you go with Hockey Club, you're gonna get ridiculed.
You couldn't close the deal on Yeti.
Yeah,
you
couldn't get it
close
done.
the deal.
Couldn't close the deal.
Well, we can be called the Wasatch, though. You could call us the Utah
That's
Wasatch.
still better than a Hockey
We
Club.
can still get a Yeti-like figure.
Still better than Hockey
I agree.
Club.
Eric, wrap us up today, brother. You're last up on Ask Us Anything.
Hey, sorry, I did want to apologize. I didn't get cold feet. My supervisor called me. Okay?
That's even better.
Even better.
I freaked out, and it was like hold and accept, or what does the other one say? Or like hang up and
switch,
accept,
yeah.
and I
Block
clicked-
this number.
We don't want you to get fired.
Yeah, that'd be bad. That'd be no good, man.
So I was like, oh man, I got called out. Anyways, will you guys be making it out to Peoria? Do you guys head out? That was my question. I know sometimes I'm to and from cases, and so I want to
That's all
call,
good,
but
brother.
I just want to be a safe driver sometimes.
No, I think you're doing the right thing, Eric. Ben and Woods will be out at spring training, and they will carry the banner for 97.3 FM. The other two shows will not be out at spring training.
Gwen and Chris aren't going this year?
I don't think so.
They usually go. Well, Tony will be out
Yeah,
there.
Tony will be
Tony
out
will
there.
be out there every day, or not every day. Many days?
Many days,
Many days.
most days, yeah.
Many days.
I'd love to go out there with the show. It's not the way it's rolling. And I'd love to go out there for a weekend.
Yeah.
And all my different soccer PA or play-by-play commitments seem to preclude that happening this year. I think last weekend was my last open weekend for like ever.
Yeah. So seriously, join the club.
I don't
Although it wasn't
know the
open for
next
me,
time
yeah.
I'm going to have an open weekend. It's a while from now. And I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But yeah, so I'd love to go out there. I love spring training. I really do.
Yeah, I wish I was out there. I mean, it's the best time in terms of talking to players and getting information and really just such a casual
Bless you.
start to the season where you get to like talk to players before the stress really hits, you know, or like not the stress, but the competitiveness, the nature of the games meaning something really hits. But we'll see.
Anyways, thank you everyone for the phone calls. Appreciate it. We'll do it again tomorrow. That's it for today's edition of Annie and Elsten. Stay tuned. Gwen and Chris